is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. And if you are a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then you need to become a business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. Lock in your 2026 marketing now at this incredible price. It really is the best deal in all of Chicago radio. You'll join a long list of businesses who are reaching AM 560's audience of affluent decision makers. And through the generosity of your business, you'll also be helping more than 30 children for a year. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, 847-472-8950. That number, one more time, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. It's your last chance to get exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X9 14 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, where PCs are up to 35% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo.
So Pure Talk is offering unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $29.95 a month for life. Not your phone's life, your life. This top-tier plan is normally $65 a month, but if you switch today, you'll save over 50% every month for the rest of your life. You might say it's the deal of your lifetime. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. Offer expires 12/7. Some restrictions apply. Details at puretalk.com.
Hi, this is Sean Thompson. The roller coaster. No matter your age, no matter the amusement park, it never ceases to bring the emotional goods, the anticipation, the excitement, and then the fear and the adrenaline rush that comes from the king of all rides. The same can be said when it comes to your retirement. Lots of questions and concerns that for some reason can feel like a roller coaster. Will you be able to continue to live as comfortably as you do now? Or will you have the complete financial independence? Or will you run out of money? How about taxes, Social Security, or health care? Tom Fortino and the team at Alpha Wealth Group can answer all of these questions and much more with their roadmap to retirement. And all you have to do is simply call 630-864-6711. That's 630-864-6711. Or online at alphawealthgroup.com. Call Alpha Wealth Group today, and let's save the fear and adrenaline for the amusement park.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be breezy, not as cold, with snow and flurries at times starting in the late morning. There will be little to no accumulation, but watch out for slippery spots. The high will reach 33. Tonight will remain breezy early, then clear up. It'll be the coldest air this season, so bundle up with a low of 4. Tomorrow will be very cold, but sunny with a high of 17. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So another blue line attack. Chicago man charged with punching senior citizen, knocking him onto the tracks at a blue line stop in Forest Park. That's the same stop where way back this fall, September was it? 4 people were found shot and killed on that train out of Forest Park on the Blue Line. I don't believe an arrest has been made in that case. Meet Tommy Carter.
Tommy Carter is charged with attempted murder after punching an elderly man yesterday morning at the Harlem stop in Forest Park. We're told the victim ended up on the tracks, nearly touching the third rail as a train was approaching the stop. Now, the conductor saw the attack and was able to stop the train in time. Police arrested Carter on the platform. We've learned he's had dozens of arrests dating back to 2001.
Sound familiar? Police reviewed surveillance of the attack, questioned witnesses. Carter charged with 1 felony count of attempted murder, 3 felony counts of aggravated battery to a police officer. He spit on an officer as he was resisting arrest. Dozens of arrests dating back to 2001, including a 2023 conviction for aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. And you know how it is in Chicago and Cook County, where we want to focus on violent criminals and we want to remove those who commit crimes with guns in particular, because we're real tough on gun crime in Cook County, if you haven't heard. I offer that because we'll see if he's detained. He's got a detention hearing coming up today in Maywood. I have a feeling I know what the Cook County State's Attorney's Office will argue, which is for pretrial detention. But, you know, who knows what ball will come up on the lotto when it comes to Cook County judges and what they will or won't do under the Safety Act. Speaking of which, Eileen, O'Neill, O'Shaughnessy, McFadden, Madigan, Cullerton, Daly, Burke, 2 Burkes, that's how Irish she is. She was reviewing her first year in office. Have you noticed? Big confab at the City Club over at Maggiano's, where all the tax eaters gather to have a family-style lunch while listening to one of their fellow travelers tout their accomplishments, applauding for themselves as they applaud for their fellow travelers. The parameters of debate in the city of Chicago, political discourse, the width of the eye of a needle. Here's what Burke had to say during her interview. You know, once upon a time when people like Tom Roser were involved with the City Club and Tom Donovan, there's actual interest in, you know, broad discussions, including unpopular ones. I even was a featured speaker there and a panelist a number of times, but no more. Why tolerate dissent when you don't need to? Burke had this to say about electronic monitoring in particular. This was her bold message. You know, they did their job in the Bethany McGee case. They argued for pretrial detention of Lawrence Reed. You keeping track of all the names here? All the players in this Shakespearean tragedy? They did their job, but the big takeaway from Eileen, O'Neill, O'Shaughnessy, McFadden, Cullerton, Madigan, Burke is that electronic monitoring is not a proxy for pretrial detention. Yeah, no kidding.
Burke is now calling for improvements in the electronic monitoring system for when someone violates the conditions of their release, as Reed is accused of doing. In April, the sheriff turned over responsibility for the program to the chief judge's office, which O'Neill Burke says presents problems.
The personnel under the chief judge's office are pretrial services officers. They are not law enforcement. They cannot go and arrest someone. So, yes, I think we need to make sure that there is a law enforcement component of if somebody is not in compliance to have the ability to go and get them.
The law enforcement component, so it should be the province of law enforcement then. Can you just speak plainly? Is that enough? We just need to tighten up the electronic monitoring program. And, of course, the new chief judge is doing a review of the program. What's there to review? A review the last 3 months of stories over at CWB Chicago. There's your review. So now what do you want to do about it? Everybody knows what it is. What do you want to do about it? You didn't just show up here. Judge Beach. Oh, there's a process. Yeah, no, I know. Take your time. So this is a big idea, in quotation marks, from Eileen O'Neill, O'Shaughnessy, Madigan, Cullerton, Daly Burke. And the review is underway. So help is on the way. Our standards are so low for anything that resembles sanity that there's not even any discussion about Burke and her year in and what it has brought or wrought. She's not Kim Fox. We got that going for us. Okay. Is that the threshold? Not being Kim Fox is the threshold for the new chief judge? Not being as bad as his predecessor? Not being Tim Evans?
If somebody is a danger, I do not want them on electronic monitoring. If we're asking for detention, judges will say, well, I don't want to detain him, but I'm not going to just release him. I'll put him on electronic monitoring. And that's a false equivalency. It makes people feel safe, and they are not safe.
Yeah, I know. We've noticed they're not safe. For example, the story yesterday, teen on pretrial release accused of shooting man running resale app robbery traps. 16-year-old boy tried to kill a man on the west side while being on pretrial release for charges pending in juvenile court. He's also accused of robbing people on pretrial release by luring them into traps via Facebook Marketplace and a resale app. And, dollars to donuts in terms of the number of stories like this we have, usually involving adults, but clearly not limited to that. So is that fine? Just law enforcement component to electronic monitoring, recognizing this is what constitutes truth-telling. Recognize that that electronic monitoring is not the same thing as pretrial detention. Wow. A populace that is so numbed by beautiful lies that anything resembling an approximation of reality is treated as bold and refreshing. Is it? You know what I noticed in Eileen Burke's commentary? Well, the first thing I noticed is Eileen Burke only talks to friendly audiences. She's a political coward. That's not encouraging. Notice that. Number two, what was absent from her remarks? What was absent from the remarks of the new chief judge? Anybody? Corey and Woodlawn.
Morning, guys. We need to put a conductor on the train. End of story. No ticket, no access. What I'm also noticing is that there's zero accountability. Everyone's so obsessed with what they can get from the city of Chicago. I mean, people that work for the city and people that live in the city, that no one's being held accountable for any of these mistakes. The person that runs the Department of Transportation should have been fired a long time ago. We have real bodies being thrown in front of our feet or his feet, and nothing has been done about it. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Text from 312. They need a blue ribbon committee to look into whatever they look into. Exactly. Blue ribbon panel is called for. That's bold and refreshing, too. Because it's such a conundrum. It's so hard to figure what should be done, isn't it? Anybody? What didn't Burke, what didn't Beach address? I think Mike in Yorkville's on the crab, as the Deadliest Catch Boys might say. Mike in Yorkville.
Good analogy, Dan, for this morning.
Thank you.
There should be an opposite part to the Safety Act that would be able to help the citizens. If you're allowed to roam free, since judges are not held liable for putting our public in danger. So if you're out on the Safety Act bill and you're roaming the streets and you commit another crime, you get shot dead, there should be no issue against the citizen. Shouldn't even be actually an investigation, because we already know you're out there roaming around doing something criminal activity. You've been let free. You've been given a chance. This is the idea of the Safety Act, right? Given a chance. So give the public a chance to be able to defend itself. But unfortunately, stand your ground in Illinois doesn't work because they don't like the Second Amendment. If you haven't noticed that most of the cases against the Second Amendment come from this state. Between the FOID card, which is unconstitutional by its own judges in the state, where the Supreme Court didn't even rule. They basically divided the baby on the ruling. They didn't say it was neither constitutional or unconstitutional, just allowed them to keep doing it. Can you imagine the people of Illinois having to pay something to go vote? But why should you have to pay something to exercise your Second Amendment? There is no difference between that and basically paying to vote. I think in history there was something about called voter poll tax.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Chief Judge Beach announces committee to strengthen electronic monitoring communication processes. Oh, boy. Charles Beach announced today, this is from a press release, of course, he is establishing a focused committee. Oh, a focused committee. That's different than a blue ribbon committee. That's next level up. Focus committees, greater than blue ribbon committees, if you're scoring at home, to urgently review. Not just review, urgently review. Blue ribbon committees patiently review. Focus committees urgently review. Okay? This is getting serious now. To approve communication procedures related to alleged violations within the Circuit Court of Cook County's electronic monitoring program. Recent events highlight the need for clearly defined roles and timely information sharing among the agencies involved in pretrial supervision. Wow. I'm blown away. Aren't you? Anybody? What they didn't mention? Burke and Beach? All those tax eaters at the City Club? What's the predicate to all this? Jim in the Grange. Uh-oh.
Dan, I'm gonna take lack of contrition for 500, please.
Uh-huh.
That's just one of the things, but there's no reality here. They're hiding behind language once again. So state the truth. Someone's been arrested. We've got a problem with them. We need to change our process and put them away to keep all you people safe. But that's not what's happening. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks for the call, Jim. Greg, Rogers Park.
Morning, Dan. Dan, you got to remember, from the schools to the aldermen to all the offices here in Illinois, they're all rotten to the core. And the message that all these people do is be pro-crime, soft on crime, identitarian politics. And until we get these schools changed where these rotten teachers are not telling these kids they're emboldened and they're victims, and until we really get, and the Archdiocese has got to tell people that crime is a sin and they need to be punished for it. Supich is quiet. Bishop Sullivan is quiet. I'm sick and tired of the Archdiocese being totally silent against these people while people are getting brutalized. It's disgusting.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Well, I'll provide the answer then. What's the predicate to all this? The focus committee that's urgently reviewing the electronic monitoring system and electronic monitoring not being a proxy for pretrial detention? Well, why don't you skip ahead, Judge Beach, State's Attorney Eileen O'Neill, O'Shaughnessy, Madigan, Cullerton, Daly, Burke. Repeal the Safety Act. Why aren't you calling for repeal the Safety Act? You know, a legislation that was opposed by 100 of your 102 colleagues. Oh, well, you weren't your colleagues at the time, but 100 of your now 101 other colleagues. State's Attorney Burke. All the Cook County sheriffs. I mean, all the sheriffs, sans probably Cook County. I don't remember Tom Dart took a position. I'm sure he was just silent. That's his want. Focused on puppy mills. Repeal the Safety Act. But there's no political will to say that, even though they know that's what needs to be done. And to some extent, I understand. They got to the positions they enjoy now, I'm talking about Burke and Beach, by exhibiting no political willpower at the behest of an electorate that has no political willpower to change things. No political willpower to do the things you know need to be done to improve conditions. And until there is that political will that reaches critical mass in the electorate and is reflected on the electoral choices made by said voters, then this is what we'll have. Focus committees urgently reviewing and politicians speechifying in front of their friends, sound and fury signifying not very much. Coming up at 5:38, boy, we've got a lot to discuss from the Trump cabinet meeting yesterday, starting with his perspective on immigration and with a particular focus on people coming from countries like Somalia. We'll do that at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 24 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Cook County has approved a guaranteed income program for thousands of residents. Fox Business Network's Kelly Saberi reports.
We know there's precedent. Through a pilot program, monthly payments of $500 were given to 3,250 households. Now we know that $7.5 million will go towards the program. That pilot program, though, was once the nation's largest such endeavor, using money from the American Rescue Plan Act.
The Economic Security Project calls the pilot program a historic success, helping families afford groceries, childcare, transportation, and other essentials. A lawsuit seeking to restrict the use of force by immigration agents has been dropped as a result of the withdrawal of ICE agents and the National Guard troops from our area. The lawyers say that they have not received any reports of unconstitutional behavior since November 8th. This report is a service of Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage is a whole department inside your Macy's store where you can find so many holiday essentials, all for under $25. With new arrivals daily, you never know what amazing deals you'll find. Don't wait. Find a location at Macy'sBackstage.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next.
Hugh Hewitt breaks down the latest Epstein files.
I've looked at the emails they released today. They do not do anything to implicate Donald Trump. In fact, they exonerate Donald Trump. There's no proof, but there were lawsuits, many lawsuits by many plaintiffs' lawyers that would have loved to have sued Donald Trump. There's no there. And they're talking about it because they don't have any ideas, and Obamacare is a complete and total failure.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Attention all listeners, financial planners, CPA, and divorce attorneys. In 2021, there were over 420,000 licensed loan originators. Today, that number is down to 93,000. That's a reduction of over 75% of licensed loan officers within the past 4 years. If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender who's still in business. While mortgage companies have been closing and hundreds of thousands of loan officers have left the business since 2021, Team Hochberg has expanded and is stronger than ever and would love to earn your business. Let's review. Hundreds of mortgage companies have closed down and over 327,000 loan officers exited the mortgage business, while Team Hochberg has expanded and is stronger than ever. If you'd like to work with experienced mortgage professionals who'll appreciate your business, call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
Ready for some holiday magic? Pack up the family and cruise over to Go-Bert's Farm in Pingree Grove, where 2 incredible Christmas light shows are waiting to light up your night. First up, the Go-Bert's Christmas Drive-Thru Light Show. We're talking millions of lights synchronized to music that'll have you cranking up the volume. Picture this: dancing penguins getting their groove on, snowflakes cascading all around you, reindeer galloping through enchanted fields, plus a dazzling tunnel of lights that's pure Christmas magic. But wait, there's more. The legendary Larson Christmas Light Show, the one everyone's been raving about from Campton Hills, is now right here on the Go-Bert's property. 30 minutes of jaw-dropping lights, spectacular special effects, and surprise character visits that'll make the kids lose their minds with excitement. Here's the best part: you can experience both shows in one epic night. Perfect for families, couples, or even your company party bus. Because yes, limos and party buses are totally welcome. Per vehicle pricing keeps it affordable, but grab your tickets online now because these shows are selling fast. Visit GoBerts.com for tickets, times, and all the details. Go-Bert's Farm, where Christmas dreams come to life.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be breezy and not as cold with snow and flurries at times starting in the late morning, but there will be little to no accumulation. Watch out for slippery spots. The high will reach 33 degrees. Tonight it will remain breezy in the evening, otherwise becoming clear. Dress warmly as it will be the coldest air experience this season with a low of 4 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So Trump had a cabinet meeting yesterday. A lot of topics covered. And, of course, the president held court on a number of issues, including on immigration, building on what he said over the weekend in the wake of the shooting of those 2 National Guardsmen the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. In fact, he began with an update on the condition of Andrew Wolf, the West Virginia National Guardsman who survived. And, you know, based on what we've heard from the governor of West Virginia, Patrick Morrisey, as well as what we heard yesterday from President Trump, it looks like he's going to survive, and that's good news.
And I want to pay my deepest respects to those 2 incredible people from the National Guard in West Virginia they came from. I spoke to their parents. Sarah is gone. She passed away. She's looking down on us now, and she loves her parents, and they loved her. They were. Somebody said, "How are they doing?" I said, "The word is devastated." Doing. How are they going to do? They're devastated. The rest of their lives they're going to be devastated. She was an incredible person, highly respected, top of her class, everything. She was like a perfect human being. 20 years old, just started. She was like a baby. She was so proud. They were giving her a promotion, and she told the parents that she was getting a promotion, and they were so proud of her. Then they get a call that this happened. And we have one young man who's fighting for his life. He's fighting very hard. I think he's probably doing better than anybody. They said he didn't have a chance. I'll tell you, the one who said he's going to live is his mother. Spoke to his mother. Sir, he's going to live. I spoke to her very soon after this horrible event took place with this scum that is able to come into our country. I spoke to his mother. Sir, he's going to be okay. I'm telling you. No doctor thought that. Nobody thought that. He was hitting bad places, and she was like so positive. It was incredible. And it's possibly right, Pam, right? Possibly right. Boy, it would be amazing. If he lives, it would be amazing. A miracle, actually.
All right, so we continue to keep Andrew Wolf in our prayers, hope that he does survive and make a full recovery. And, of course, this opened the door to the larger conversation about the action that the president has taken in the wake of those shootings, which is to pause immigration from 19 countries. I think that's been expanded to more than 30 now, and to review the asylees that were provided categorical parole under the Biden administration as part of the Operation Allies program. In addition to dealing with a backlog of 1.5 million asylum applications that Kristi Noem mentioned over the weekend, and maybe dealing with those at this point is to not deal with them. Didn't get any more detail along the lines that I would like in terms of understanding what was the so-called vetting process, to the extent that there was one under the previous administration. What are the changes that you've made and are making that distinguished the process that this administration is going to use from the previous administrations when it comes to vetting in general and with respect to asylum seekers from countries that are generally antagonistic to America? I'd like a distillation of that. That would be helpful. Instead, we got sort of a general feeling about certain immigrant populations from certain countries. Building on what he said over the weekend and into early this week, President Trump talking obviously about Afghan asylees as well as Somalians, and by extension, he's talking about a lot of naturalized citizens from Somalia that congregate particularly in Mogadishu, Minnesota, is what it's become, represented by the likes of Ilhan Omar, and he was not mincing words yesterday.
I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. We don't want them. We don't want their garbage. Ilhan Omar is garbage. I agree that she is a garbage human being. I agree with that. Any uncomfortable feelings about that categorical statement you heard from the president? Well, of course, this is drawing a response from politicians in what used to be known as Minneapolis, particularly given that in addition to those comments and the comments over the last several days from the president, you have the word on the street that a significant contingent of ICE agents are going to move towards what used to be called Minneapolis for enforcement and retrieval operations, like you saw in Chicago and you've seen around the country. This is the response that drew from, well, let's start with a city council member who's a Somali American. His name is Jamal Osman, and this is what he had to say back at the president.
And obviously, everyone knows that our president is racist, xenophobic, Islamophobic, and we are going to fight that. America has a history of fighting and stopping those kind of individuals who continue to divide people and divide communities. Many Somalis that live in this community are working at your groceries, working at your hospitals, delivering your babies. They're doctors. They are very successful individuals. Now I would like to switch into Somali to speak to my community. Assalamu alaikum. Walaalayaal, waxaan la hadlayaa community-ga magaalada Minneapolis. Anigoo ah Jamal Usman. Waxaan inii sheegayaa City Minneapolis. Garabkiina ay taagan tahay.
Yeah. Speaking the native tongue of what was formerly Minneapolis at the end there. Jacob Fry, he's that kid who was the pajamas boy avatar for Obamacare back in the day. He grew up to be the mayor of what is now Mogadishu, Minnesota, if you hadn't heard. This is what he had to say on the coming ICE enforcement operations, sort of piggybacking on what the good councilman, Mr. Osmond, had to say.
That's not American. That's not what we are about. And we're going to do right by every single person in our cities. And so, to our Somali community, Daman Shabka, Somaliyed Kunul, Minnesota, Garahan, Minneapolis, Waan, Ku Janila Hai, Waan, Ku Gereb, Taganahan.
His dialect is excellent. He's been practicing. Wonder what language app he used there to become so fluent. Jacob Fry, former pajamas boy. I got to tell you, I don't like the way that President Trump spoke about the Somali people. I don't think that's helpful. It's unnecessary, and it's untrue. There's no reason to categorize people from a country as all of the same kind. Let me give you an example. Somebody else from Somalia who is a naturalized American citizen, who is not named Ilhan Omar, is Ayaan Hirsi Ali. For those of you who don't know, Ayaan Hirsi Ali is a conservative scholar. She's married to, one of, if not the greatest living historian, Neil Ferguson. She's a critic of Islam, written books about it. Sort of broke onto the scene 20 years ago with her book Infidel. She's from Somalia. She's not a garbage person. So this is where, particularly because this is such an emotionally charged issue, I think Trump's imprecision with language is counterproductive, including to his own interests. I know he doesn't care, and he doesn't care about being politically correct, and that's going to be good enough for some people that are Trump absolutists, but not if you want to be effective. It's just unnecessary. You can be very specific about individuals and policies without categorizing an entire population as the same thing as the worst illustrations of it. The demagogic politicians like Omar, the fraudsters that stole from Americans and their own people to send money back to their home country, including to terrorist organizations that operate there like Al-Shabaab. Let's talk about a different approach. And this is being done by the Trump administration, interestingly. So it's certainly possible. Our friends that were brought over as part of the Operation Allies, which invokes the need for system change. The Department of Homeland Security posted these profiles, these thumbnail sketches of a number of individuals that were either unvetted or not properly vetted, or there was a mistake. I don't know, because there's not the level of detail that we should expect from our government, frankly. They just put this rundown up on X yesterday. And I wish they would do this more frequently with respect to ICE enforcement and removal operations. Jamal Wali, Afghan national led into this country under Biden through Operation Allies Welcome, shot, wounded 2 Fairfax, Virginia police officers during a routine traffic stop and was killed by return fire after declaring, "I should have served with the effing Taliban." Abdullah Haji Zada and Nasir Ahmed Tawadi, both Afghan nationals given legal status, arrested and prosecuted for the terrorist attack in Oklahoma City, plotting one for Election Day last year. We talked about that. Mohammed Karwan, Afghan national, on the terrorist watch list, apprehended by Border Patrol in 2024, but released into the country by the Biden administration. Arrested again after being allowed to live in the United States at large for more than a year. These are the sorts of people that ICE is working to pick up in real time today. Javeed Ahmadi, a criminal illegal alien from Afghanistan, arrested by ICE in 2025, convicted of second-degree assault, previously allowed to stay in the country by Biden. Barula Nori, an Afghan evacuee, arrested at Fort McCoy in Wisconsin, charged with attempting to engage in a sexual act with a minor using force. Zabihullah Muhammad, Afghan national, resettled in Montana by the Biden administration, charged with the rape of a teenage girl in a Missoula motel room. Those are just a few. And so again, of the more than 70,000 that were given categorical parole, you have a handfuls, I don't really know. I can only go by what the government is able to figure out and then disclose. But we know that it's a program that isn't working as it should. We know that people have made mistakes, or there are just unacceptable gaps in the system, and those need to be addressed. It's pretty straightforward stuff, and I think this is probably a point in time where level heads would do the Trump administration wonders on the issue. You know, when you have the shrieking harridans in the public square, the response to that is not to come over the top with demagoguery, try to be more incendiary than they are. The response is to be level-headed about it, so people see the contrast and they can quickly distinguish who is serious and trying to get to a place that's better for everyone, and who is unbalanced and just trying to score political points in pursuit of their mindless ideology. Somebody texted me. Oh, I got. He was using overall stats. There are always exceptions. FFS, Dan, you know he does that. Yeah, I know what he does. And I've always found his imprecision with language particularly lacking in utility in certain times. Sometimes it doesn't matter so much. Sometimes it does. This is one of those times that it does. And he wasn't using overall stats when he said we don't want them. He was using an overall stat when he was talking about welfare that I don't think is verified, but that's not the point. The access to welfare state benefits by people in this country, legally and illegally, is a fair topic of conversation, and it's a problem. But he said garbage people, and he said we don't want them, talking about their country categorically. Not helpful. Unnecessary. Unkind and untrue. Craig in Mount Greenwood.
Oh, hey, good morning, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. The minimum requirement should be any of these people that are over here should be desirous to assimilate with America and like just enjoy America.
Exactly. Yes. Right. That's it.
So when you want to set up a place like Mogadishu, Minnesota, where it's totally a rejection of America, and you want your own thing, and you want to try to change everybody else around you, change the Americans to your way of belief and everything, that should be the thing right there. Those are the people that they don't deserve to be here. They shouldn't be here in any way, shape, or form. Go back to where you basically practice your lifestyle and your rules and your regulations if you don't want to take and participate with American ways.
Thanks for the call. I obviously agree with assimilation and the tell that we have a separatist problem in places like of what was formerly Minneapolis and places like Dearborn, Michigan, is you have the politicians speaking Arabic, for goodness sakes. But particularly as it pertains to American citizens, and as we know from John Hindraker, our discussion on Monday, most of the Somali population in what was formerly Minneapolis are naturalized citizens now, because this has been happening not over the last several weeks, but over the last several decades. So, complicated now. Phil in Maryville, quickly, please.
Yeah, just like you said, this has been going on for a while, and now you have an Americanized people, but they have the same beliefs as their religion, and I believe it's anti-American. You know, you can have the extremists that are crazy and are willing to do crazy things, but even the ones that aren't extremists all have the same beliefs. I believe they're anti-American on majority of them. So.
Thanks for the call, Phil. We're up against the clock, but I appreciate it. We'll pick up the conversation there at the top of the 6 o'clock hour. Take your calls, 312-642-5600, Turnkey.Pro answer line. It's now 6 o'clock at AM 560 WIND.
A seat in Congress that's been red will stay red. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
I am humbled beyond belief to stand before you tonight as your next representative.
Matt Van Epps won a special election in Tennessee, keeping a House seat Republican, beating Democrat Afton Bain by 9 points in a district that President Trump won by 22 last year.
Together, we'll bring down the cost of living. I'm tired of too many Republicans ceding affordability to the Democrats.
The Van Epps victory will give the GOP a 219-213 House majority. Congress will be investigating the military operation off the Venezuela coast, blowing up boats said to be trafficking illegal drugs. Democrats want to know if a war crime was committed in one attack where a second strike hit a boat, killing survivors of the first bombing.
War Secretary Pete Hegseth says he watched live video of the initial strike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean on September 2nd.
Didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting.
Hegseth says he never personally saw survivors from that initial strike, describing a fog of war with the vessel on fire and smoking.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern. It's been a week since the ambush on 2 National Guard soldiers on patrol in Washington, D.C., killing one, seriously wounding the other. And now Fox's Chris Foster reports.
All immigration applications are frozen for people from the 19 countries with travel bans or restrictions put in place in June. That includes Afghanistan. The shooting of 2 National Guard troops by a suspect from there is cited as the reason for the pause. New and existing applications to live and work in the U.S. are on hold for citizens of those countries. Already scheduled final interviews for citizenship and citizenship ceremonies are canceled.
President Trump again asserts that anything signed by President Biden using an auto pen is voided. Writing on Truth Social, anyone receiving a partner commutation be advised that document's completely terminated, though nullifying Biden auto pen signatures could be challenged in court. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 24 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Democrat-led states are at risk of losing federal food aid unless they provide more information about who's getting those benefits. Fox's Jared Halpern has more from the White House.
As many as 21 states will start having federal SNAP funding withheld next week if they do not comply with Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins' request for information about who is receiving nutrition benefits.
To root out this fraud, to make sure that those who really need food stamps are getting them, but also to ensure that the American taxpayer is protected.
Democratic-led states are suing to block the requirement. Around 42 million Americans rely on SNAP to help afford groceries. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A panel of 3 judges of the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals heard both sides of a case to determine whether immigrant detainees should be released. Lawyers for the plaintiffs argued that the detainees represented were arrested without warrants or cause, violating a standing order. If the plaintiffs win this appeal, as many as 400 detainees could be released. No word on when a ruling will be issued. And the Chris Kindle Market may be moving away from Daily Plaza. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson addressed rumors that a new venue may be in store for the holiday market in the wake of vendors complaining about restrictions on the numbers of people allowed to enter.
I've
simply have offered is because the growth has been so substantial and safety is our top priority. We want to make sure that we have a safe mechanism in which people can enjoy downtown. And so that may include looking at a much larger space. And that's a good thing for our economy.
The city is currently allowing no more than 2,553 people in the market at a time. That's about 1,000 people less than were allowed when COVID restrictions were in place. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2026? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it?
This is what Christmas is all about.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th. You can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Nice. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pain, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your routine. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and try their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Simply call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, don't let it keep you from living the life you want. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
We have reached the age where things just cost more.
Cars, phones, life insurance.
Your blood pressure is up.
Your weight is up.
You're one to talk.
I have type 2 diabetes, so I'm getting dinged just like you.
Thank goodness for Big Lou.
Big Lou!
Big Lou can get term life insurance rates for a 50-year-old male with type 2 diabetes or high blood pressure, or maybe he's on anxiety meds. For just around $200 a month for $1 million of coverage.
Oh, you got to say that again.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll say it. Big Lou and term provider could get a 50-year-old man, a little dinged up, $1 million in life insurance for around $200 a month.
Call Big Lou.
Big Lou.
He's like you.
800-555-2085. That's 800-555-2085.
Don't put it off. If you're overweight, diabetic, have high blood pressure, you gotta call Big Lou.
Gotta.
800-555-2085.
Write it down.
800-555-2085.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Good morning from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. If your commute involves I-57 northbound at any point, watch out. We've got major delays. An accident overnight, triple fatal accident, has the northbound lanes blocked between 127th and 119th. Again, I-57 northbound. Now, tow trucks on the scene, so they should get this cleared up here in the next few minutes. But again, if you're on I-57 this morning, just be prepared for delays. Some other sticky spots, an accident blocking 2 left lanes if you're on the Kennedy outbound between Nagel and Sayre Avenue. On the Tri-State Tollway, we've got a disabled vehicle blocking the left lane if you're northbound after Markham Toll Plaza. Slow going on the Stevenson this morning if you're inbound between Harlem and Western Avenue, about a 10-minute backup. 5-minute delay on the Bishop Ford inbound between 130th and the Dan Ryan Expressway. The Dan Ryan looking okay. The inbound Ike looking okay as well between Manheim and Des Plaines, about a 5-minute backup there. This report is service of Fox Valley Coins. Bring your gold or silver in store today. Each item priced right in front of you. The coins never leave your sight. Receive cash or a check right on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now check out that forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy and not as cold, with snow and flurries at times starting in the late morning, but there will be little to no accumulation. Watch out for slippery spots. The high will reach 33 degrees. Tonight it will remain breezy in the evening, otherwise becoming clear. Dress warmly, as it will be the coldest air experience this season with a low of 4 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, in the wake of the 2 National Guardsmen who were shot, 1 killed the day before Thanksgiving last week, and the response from the Trump administration to pause asylum applications and immigration generally from dozens of countries, we're trying to have a conversation about what we should do. And it's a little bit difficult when we don't really have a good handle on what was done or what we are doing at present. And there's been very little specificity in terms other than sort of generally talking, as Kristi Noem did, about social media review and biometrics and that sort of thing in terms of the enhanced vetting that's going on in the Trump administration as compared to the Biden administration. And that's, I have no doubt that's true, that it's more rigorous. But it's difficult to say that the response is proportional, at least as a sort of short or medium term response, when we don't get any of the backstory. But there's a couple things we can discuss nonetheless. One is, does there need to be congressional action here? Are there laws that were previously passed that need to be repealed? Are there laws that need to be passed? A number of people just on that topic have talked about the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965. And the argument has been made that needs to be repealed because that eliminated national origin quotas that had been enforced for several generations prior. And that changed the composition of emigration to the United States, people emigrating to the United States, but before that law was passed, it was mostly Western nations. Most of our immigration were people from Western nations, Europe, Canada, Australia. And that sort of has been flipped on its head over the last 50 years, where most of immigrants to America are coming from the developing world, both in our hemisphere and in the Eastern Hemisphere, Latin America, Africa, Asia. But just understand something. And it was this assimilation issue that isn't talked about enough and needs to be talked about more, particularly when you have the mayor of Minneapolis speaking Somali to address his city. The 1965 Act, the Immigration Nationality Act, did not ban assimilation. It just banned national origin quotas. So what's assimilation? Shared norms, language. We can favor those attributes when we make decisions about who can come to this country and stay, without getting into what's a good country and what's a bad country. And that's sort of my point when Trump makes sweeping statements about some countries. Yeah, we understand Somalia is a warlordocracy. So Chicago. Not to the same extent. I'm being hyperbolic. I get it. But, there's a bunch of Islamic theocracies that are incubators of terrorism. There are failed states throughout the developing world. There's no question. We understand that as the landscape, part of the landscape. So, but do we want to still be a beacon for freedom the world over and accept people fleeing religious and political persecution or not? That's a question, it seems to me now. And if we want to, then we need to make individual decisions about people fleeing religious or political persecution in places like Somalia or Afghanistan or a host of other countries. And if we don't, there are implications to that too, in terms of the idea of America. And does that idea need to be adjusted? Are dreams for what this country could be tempered now? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. As I said yesterday in conversation, I think it was with Stephen Bucci, I want America to be a haven for people fleeing religious and political persecution. That's why this nation is the last, best, greatest hope for Western civilization and, by extension, humanity. And it's why we need to think through these things with cool heads before we just go off on a country because it produced Ilhan Omar and a bunch of fraudsters. As I said, it also produced Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and she's a credit to this country. Let's be surgical in our discussions. Let's be very specific. There's also this other matter of questioning what was done, what is being done, whose input is being received. I mentioned this at the outset of the week, talking about this Marine vet who was a contractor in Afghanistan, Chad Robichaux, and he was on Fox News over the weekend talking about his experience there and how he helped his Afghan translator get to America, but it was only after he went to a safe third country, was vetted, was 9 months, and then ultimately he was allowed to come here. Because I also think we need to be thoughtful about this idea that some people, because of their country of origin or their religion, are incompatible with assimilating in America. So I think there's not much evidence to support that claim, actually. How we separate the wheat from the chaff, this is where we need real focus. And so I said at the time, part of the input and the vetting, particularly when you're dealing with a government like Afghanistan, and when you're talking about those who helped us, meaning our men and women in uniform who were on the ground in Afghanistan, versus those who didn't, those who can be vouched for by our people and those who cannot be, that seems to be material. And so now you're generating all sorts of responses on social media from those who did serve in Afghanistan, talking about, those who were the beneficiaries of the Operation Allies Welcome program that brought more than 70,000 Afghans here. And again, the Biden administration clearly did it wrong because they did it categorically when it needs to be done individually. One poster, Afghan allies, quote unquote, are great. So great, in fact, that at the height of the green on blue during the global war on terror, we had to start using Guardian Angel TTPs. So green on blue, green was the Afghan security forces that supposedly were fighting with us. Blue was the international alliance, including UN. And the Guardian Angel TTPs, I think TTP is the Taliban Pakistan outfit. So this is this guy's point, how complicated it was. So even when talking with our quote unquote friends, we'd have to have armed guards standing watch. Yeah, they were great, all right, as long as you had a loaded weapon visible to them. Do you have any idea how effing ridiculous it was to be on guard for the Taliban and friendly, quote unquote, friendly Afghans inside the wire? Guess what? Those allies were vetted too. You can't vet a society where identity itself isn't recorded, but they don't want you to know that. Okay. I mean, that's a first-person perspective that needs to be addressed by the political leadership. 100%. The stories of raping little boys, absolutely true. I watched one of the Afghan security forces try to kill another one over some historical beef between tribes and ended up killing a Brit in the crossfire. We gave a guy $400,000 in USAID money to start a women's shelter in a small Afghan village. We returned a few weeks later to find that dude moved to Pakistan with USAID money. Yeah, shocking. Leaving Jalalabad in 05, casually talking to one of our Terps. Guy mentions him and his dad were arrested in Pakistan over the weekend. They shared a 13-year-old prostitute. He liked those the best because it was easier to find a virgin. This time it had been a girl. This time. Brother. Fellow soldier asked if I felt bad because that girl was ruined to the Afghans now. He did not. We're fairly sure the guy was doing whatever drugs he could find, but his English was pretty good. They wouldn't believe us and would claim we were racists who have made them up. But here you go. Raping children was the norm. Raping donkeys caught multiple times on camera. Beheading a woman accused of being raped. Shooting an 8-year-old because his dad sold us random items. Bombing a hospital entrance. All typical stories. And these are, many, many people who are providing first-person accounts. After yet another green on blue attack by our quote-unquote Afghan allies, my team leader made a rule that if the ANA was on the base, that we had to either stay overnight in our compound or go with a buddy and get ready to fight them. He's talking about the quote-unquote allies again. And there's a lot of commentary on the Afghan security forces and how untrustworthy they were. Dangerously untrustworthy. 15 years ago today, my friend and 5 other Americans were murdered by an Afghan ally. He was 20 years old and left a wife and young son. Well, I mean, we remember those stories about bombings inside the Green Zone by those that were reputedly our allies. In February 2020, Mark Dakotu was shot and killed at Forward Operating Base Nunez by an Afghan interpreter who had stolen a rifle and opened fire. Mark was 19 years old. I live in a safe house rented by the U.S. military from local warlords. We had Afghans living within our walls and quote-unquote guarding our safe house. We would see little boys be brought in every week to their rooms. Orphans were found on the streets in Kabul. The noises and screams I would hear will haunt me forever. We asked one of the men what was going on. He said, "Wives are for babies, boys are for pleasure." Good grief. Several of us reported this to our chain of command several times and nothing was done. Well, I could go on, but I think you get the gist of it. There's a lot of evil and ugliness there. And so these are things that can't be done en masse. They have to be done on an individualized basis, like Marine Chad Robichaux facilitating the resettlement of his interpreter that he could vouch for. And I assume there was additional vetting to come to this country. It's tough stuff. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Tony, South Suburbs.
Hey, how you doing, Dan? Thank you, and good morning. Listen, the rhetoric that Trump was using concerning we don't want him here and things like that is a black Republican, black conservative. I'm not the only one that says we think that rhetoric is fine. And let me just tell you why. Where are the opposing voices for the Somalis against Ilhan Omar types and people like her? Where are the opposing voices? It seems like they're all on. They're all in one voice when it comes to their hatred for America and their pro wherever they came from mentality. So that's my thing is, if there was opposing voices, I can understand the rhetoric being kind of harsh, but I don't see the rhetoric being harsh when it's when I see people come over here to hate us. Obviously, for reasons we can't even understand, we're one of the most compassionate nations in the world, if not the most compassionate. So I don't have a problem with that rhetoric. Now, I know I disagree with you on that, Dan, but I don't see anything wrong with what Trump said, considering the circumstances.
Well, thanks for the call, Tony. I mean, I gave you one example, and I and Hersi Ali. I mean, specific to Somalia. But for those, say, sort of people who are worshipers of Muhammad, people who practice Islam, they are, it's incompatible with assimilating in America. Well, our friend Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, who founded the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, I think provides a good counterexample. And there are many others. I mean, I admit you don't see a lot of high-profile people. They're not being elected to the Minneapolis City Council. I get that. They're not being elected to the Dearborn City Council. I get that. But our unit of analysis is the individual. It's not the group. We don't treat people by their group identity. We treat people as individuals, right? So when it comes to protection under the law, we treat people as individuals. These are individual rights that we all possess. We believe in natural law, God-given rights that everyone possesses. We don't believe in group rights or group privileges, group benefits. We're not conferring benefits based on group. So I suspect among the, 100,000 Somalians in Minneapolis, for example, greater Minneapolis area, I think that's roughly the number. There are many who are not fans of Ilhan Omar. So the majority, probably not. Apparently not, because she's a member of Congress. But there are some, to be certain. Just like there are many of those Afghan evacuees granted asylum who are living peaceful lives in this country, who do believe in pluralism, who did truly provide help to American servicemen and women. So that's what I just bristle at going down this identity path, because then we're going down the same path as the identitarian left, which is a redundancy. I don't do groups, except groups that are related to shared belief systems, like being an American. And the shared belief system, in part, is that you don't have to believe what I believe. Troy in Portage, Indiana.
Hey, good morning, Dan. For openers, I have to agree with you on the rhetoric and the messaging from our president, because why give the media more talking points when they're already inventing enough of them? I also agree with his utter disgust on this, because we're a host nation. We're a melting pot. And as long as you come here, assimilate, learn the language, adopt the customs, we literally give you our sons and daughters to intermarry with. We could not be more generous and considerate. people that want to reject that and change us, then those people are actually practicing the very group identity that you object to right there. And they're acting as a group and not as individuals. So, I share his disgust, but I also agree with you, man. The messaging could be so much better.
Thanks for the call, Troy. Amish texter, okay, Dan, we'll take the Somalis and the Afghans, but not the Irish. Okay, I can live with that. It's exception to my group identity rule. I think Amish, they're channeling Slim Pickens from Blazing Saddles, right? Wasn't it Slim Pickens? Roger DeKalb.
Hey, Dan, good morning. So you don't have to go only to the Arab Spring, the ISIS Caliphate during Obama started. Most of the people in those conflicts were Muslim. They killed lots of them. They killed history. They destroyed history. Mm-hmm. And of all those countries, and they took over about 85% of the Middle East, all of them, even our closest allies that we're giving millions and millions of dollars to, 85 to 90% of the populations said it was okay to kill Americans. And that comes from the madrasas. It comes from the whatever. And we just cannot give money to countries that educate their kids that it's okay to kill Jews, Americans, Westerners. And all you got to do is look at all those tunnels and tower stories of all those people who were killed and maimed with a vetted Afghan whoever in their group that blew them all up and killed them. So we just have to be more careful about who we let in. And but it is bad to label everybody bad, because they're not all bad. But they're not all good either, so.
No, 100%. That's the individual's unit of analysis. Text from 847. Thanks for the call, Roger. But we do provide benefits to groups of people, and these people vote in blocks to the tune of 90% plus. Well, I understand, but this is a system problem. What the criteria being used to provide a path to legal entrance to this country, a path to citizenship? Clearly, many of the people allowed to come into this country who settled in Dearborn, Michigan, or formerly Minneapolis, Minnesota, weren't put to an assimilation test, were they? So you have a system problem here, and what we're talking about are the consequences of the system problem, which is why I want the focus to be, what have we been doing? What are we doing now? Is it sufficient to address the problems that have been identified, the gaping failures of the system? Jerry, Milwaukee.
Morning, Dan. I'm not a Trump fanatic, but at the same time, I think Trump is being a good president by saying those things, because all he's doing is expressing the angst out here among so many people about what is taking place. And he's just being hyperbolic like you in a lot of instances.
Well, and I don't know that we're in the same camp on that. I'm happy to take a specific example, but I will tell you this. You can provide constructive form to people's frustrations, or you can provide destructive form to it.
Right, but Dan, you do the same thing, only in a more genteel way when you say Mogadishu, Minnesota, instead of it's Minneapolis.
Well, yes, and that's heretical commentary. But in terms of when you get to the substance of it all,
right,
and what the analysis should be and how the system should operate, which is where I want the focus. Yeah, having fun, calling politicians names, making fun of politicians, making fun of Pajamas Boy, the mayor there in Minneapolis. Yeah, that's all fair game. That's not hyperbole as it pertains to, a full country of people, or a particular people of a particular religious persuasion.
Yeah.
So they're completely different. But thanks for the call. Owen in Willowbrook.
Hi, Dan. I think the big thing is whoever we take in, they have to assimilate to our culture. And I think the problem is when you have pockets of people that are forming Sharia law, like down in Texas, or if you have people that, let's face it, we were founded on Judeo-Christian norms. It doesn't mean they have to be religious, but you got to respect our norms. And I mean, I don't think. I think that's the big thing. You can't just take people in there and not going to assimilate. We have to change our language for people. I mean, that, to me, I don't buy into that. And so
100%. Thanks for the call. 100%. That's my point. And so when, like, we played that girl that was on the Whatever podcast from Colombia, who's been in the country 10 years, and she was asked, we did this yesterday, she was asked if the U.S. went to war with Colombia, on whose side would you be? And she said Colombia, because that's my home country. Well, then you missed the naturalization process. It didn't take. And so, I mean, if you want to it's like one thing to grant asylum to people that have credible asylum cases. It's a whole nother thing to put them on a path, much less confer citizenship. And we can slow roll that. I'm fine with that, to, kick the tires twice, so to speak, to make sure that we have somebody that is going to be, putting America first, quite literally, first over their country of origin in terms of their loyalty, and provides sustained, credible evidence that they have bought into the idea of America as a place where peaceful pluralism is the order of the day. Sure. And oh, by the way, we can go back and look at all sorts of asylum claims, or all sorts of claims of asylum that were granted, and say whether or not those were legitimate asylum claims and not just sort of economic interest claims masked as political or religious repression. And again, check in from people who were fleeing religious and political persecution at some point, and those countries have changed and the threat is no longer present. Well, then you return. I mean, this is why I say all of sort of what we're doing and how we're doing it needs to be the focus, rather than pitting, yes, we'll accept from this country, we won't accept from that country, and so on and so forth. What are the standards that we're going to apply when it comes to accepting asylum seekers and to emigrating to this country and getting on a path to a legal path, not a wave a wand path, the legal process to become a citizen? Let's talk specifically about how we're doing that, because if we get the standards of analysis right and we have systems in place that are properly minded, then a lot of these other issues go away and we don't have to play this, the politics of balkanization here. All right, let's check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 24 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The Christkindl Market may be moving away from Daly Plaza. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson addressed rumors that a new venue may be in store for the holiday market in the wake of vendors complaining about restrictions on the numbers of people who are allowed to enter. The mayor says the possibility of moving to a larger venue would be good for the city. The city's currently allowing no more than 2,553 people in the market at a time. That's about 1,000 people less than were allowed to enter when COVID restrictions were in place. A police officer who was arrested by ICE agents has returned to the force pending the outcome of his immigration case. The Hanover Park police officer was arrested on October 15th for overstaying his visa. He's been released on bond. Officials with the Village of Hanover Park say the federal government had authorized him to continue working despite his expired visa. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Gallagher sees it as a huge distraction.
Look, this president changes his mind when he feels like it. And he evidently has changed his mind on releasing the Epstein files. It's just kind of a strange, all of it is bizarre. It gives me a headache. There's important things to deal with.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560, The Answer.
Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by extending their wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows for only $14.98. It gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more, or multi-use pillows for only $9.98. Get body pillows for $29.98 with a free pillowcase. So go to mypillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98, Kings only $1 more. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. Order $100 or more and your order ships absolutely free. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026.
The biggest time of the year for stores is during the Christmas season. And if you deal in collector coins, the main source for inventory is from people like you. We want to have our showcases fully stocked before Christmas. Last Christmas, gold was the highest ever recorded in its 5,000-year run. We don't always know if precious metals will go up or down. We're saying that if you don't appreciate that collection Grandpa left, you may want to at least find out what you can get for it. Fox Valley Coins is the trusted place where people come to buy and sell their precious metals, rare coins, and paper money. We're especially interested in purchasing now through the first week of December. And we'll still be buying after we get back from the Christmas break, but we need to purchase now. Fox Valley Coins is located one light north of I-88 on Route 59 on the Naperville-Warrenville border. We'll be closed Christmas Eve through Monday, January 4th, celebrating Jesus' birth with family and for year-end inventory. Merry Christmas from Fox Valley Coins. Family-owned integrity since 1981. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select steel tools. Shop online or in store.
And the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, the major issue continues to be I-57 northbound this morning. A triple fatal accident overnight has the road closed again. It's I-57 inbound between 127th and 119th. Wreckers are on the scene. Traffic is being diverted. Hopefully this opens up in the next few minutes. We'll keep watching this. The Kennedy is slow as well due to an earlier accident right there outbound between Central and Sayre Avenue. Expect about a 10-minute delay. Also delays on the Tri-State Tollway. An overturned vehicle has blocked the two left lanes on the southbound lanes of the Tri-State before Jane Addams, so be extra cautious. Slow going on the Eisenhower this morning right at the inbound between Manheim and Des Plaines Avenue, about a 6-minute delay. And easy going on the inbound Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, about a 16-minute drive. This report sponsored by Blindster.com. There's never been a better time to buy blinds. Save up to 50% site-wide during Blindster.com's Cyber Week sale going on right now. Their blinds are custom-made, guaranteed to fit. Skip the big box stores and order online for less. This sale ends soon. Go to Blindster.com today. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now check out the forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy, not as cold, with snow and flurries at times starting in the late morning. There will be little to no accumulation, but watch out for slippery spots. The high will reach 33. Tonight will remain breezy early, then clear up. It'll be the coldest air this season, so bundle up with a low of 4. Tomorrow will be very cold, but sunny with a high of 17. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Props. Just a final note for now on identity politics, since we've been talking about that. And our larger discussion about immigration policy. Ron in Berwyn, who frequently communicates with me on the topic, wrote this. I know you have this aversion to identity politics, but the real world is identity-based. You can judge the individual, but they are members of a group they identify with, and those groups have a dynamic all its own, and you deny that group dynamic at your own risk. Like it or not, you are part of a group that is under attack, and the only way to defeat those groups is to act as a group in the interests of our own group. Well, here's my response to that. What do I, as a honky of Irish and Danish extraction, have in common with the Irish clans in Chicago? Particularly the political ones. Not much. So I'm supposed to ally with them because we're under attack to defeat those people who are, like what the Brandon Johnson, Carlos Ramirez Rosa, Democrat Socialist Identitarians, to go back to the machine hacks that the Irish gave us for 50 years. And that's winning? Just using this as an example. Putting his advice and counsel to the test. Real world stuff, realpolitik. Yeah, I understand people have identities and they organize by identities. That's not, yeah. But as Dennis Prager said, what does he have in common with George Soros other than being Jewish? Not much. What does Zuhdi Jasser have in common with the guy who shot the National Guardsman last week? Not much. So while it's true that people cluster by identities, the American experiment is to transcend those micro-identities into the macro-identity American, right? And I don't want to give up on that experiment. Actually, that experiment has served us and this country quite well over the last 250 years, hasn't it? Yeah, I know, fits and starts and ugly periods. But the pursuit of that ideal has served this country pretty well, right? Seeing as that we're the greatest country in the history of the world. Is that a good enough measure? So don't give up on that experiment quite yet. That's my point. Okay. And speaking of which, too, I was going to talk about the boat strikes here, but, I got to get this in since we're talking about assimilation and speaking English and, understanding history. I mean, have you seen the test scores recently? I know you know them if you listen to this show. What are we doing? And rather than focusing well, let me put it another way. How about we act as better guardians of our own history? All this energy that we put into these macro issues that distract us from looking after our own backyards, from participating in the platoons of democracy, as Edmund Burke called them, that are integral to that American experiment I mentioned. The successful completion of it, or extension of it at least. Matt Walsh does a pretty good job of this, generally speaking, podcaster, Daily Wire. You know him. What is a Woman documentary and others. So he took out after, and I haven't seen this yet, so he beat me to the punch. Good for him. Ken Burns has a new documentary on government-run media. Less so now. Thank you, President Trump, congressional Republicans. Ken Burns' new multi-part documentary, The American Revolution. And there are some really, almost hysterical introductions of propaganda. It's always intertwined. I mean, the good propagandists intertwine it. And that's what Ken Burns does, too. But some of it is woven more subtly than other parts of it. So interested in protecting the vitality and viability and foundations of this country. Well, let's get after the propagandists, whether they're your kid's grade school teacher in the government school system in your community, or they're sort of leftist media icons inventing stories about this country that are untrue, spectacularly untrue, that will get mass consumption. Participate in those more meaningful contests of ideas. Be a check on this kind of stuff. Here's a good one. The real heroes of the American Revolution, according to Ken Burns.
And some of them are so absurd that you can only conclude they were added in post-production on a dare or something like that. This is probably the worst moment in that regard. Watch this.
Crisis changes people, and it gave women different ideas about what they should be doing.
Women were the main consumers in colonial society, and they were the ones who made sure the boycotts worked. Women stopped drinking tea. Women started making their own fabric. Women started making toys for their children. And they didn't just stop buying British things and start making their own things. They publicized it. And reporters would report, the ladies of Boston, the ladies of New York are the most patriotic. They are at the forefront of this protest movement. If women hadn't done that, the protest movement and eventually the revolution would have gone nowhere.
So did you catch that? If women had not stopped buying things constantly as a form of protest, then the American Revolution would not have gotten off the ground. So really, the women are the heroes of the American Revolution. Forget the men who, got shot and died. Sure, that's a significant sacrifice by any measure, but it's nothing compared to the pain that colonial women had to endure by not buying things. They bravely put down their Visa credit cards, and in doing so, they single-handedly created America.
I don't know that there's much more that needs to be said about it than what Matt Walsh had to say in response. Those false equivalencies they offer. These leftist historians interviewed by Ken Burns for that episode. The invented heroes and villains. American women who stopped buying things, heroes of the American Revolution. And I'm not saying women didn't play a part and all this and all stuff, but, proportionality, reality. They're the heroes. Oh, George Washington, the villain. You know why? Because allegedly he once asked a young black boy to do chores without compensation. Seriously.
George Washington made his Cambridge headquarters in the handsome home of a loyalist who had fled to England. One morning, not long after he had moved in, he noticed a 6-year-old African-American named Darby Vassell swinging on the gate. Vassell remembered saying he had been born in the house, and his parents had worked there. Washington urged him to come inside and get something to eat. He had plenty of chores for him to do. When Darby asked what sort of wages he could expect, Washington thought the question impertinent and unreasonable. Darby Vassell lived to be a very old man, and when asked, he liked to say that in his experience, George Washington was no gentleman, since he'd expected a boy to work for free.
The father of the American Revolution, George Washington, bad guy. I mean, this is great. And Matt Walsh did the homework, so we don't have to. Not only is that story preposterous, just in terms of relevance, it's also fictional, by all accounts.
But just out of curiosity, I decided to look into this particular claim. And it turns out, as you might have guessed, that it's complete nonsense. Now, supposedly this incident happened in 1775, but the story didn't appear in print in any form until the 1870s, a century later. And it appeared in some kind of romanticized history of the vassal estate. And here's the kicker. The first time it appeared in print, the boy was a guy named Tony Vassal, who was Darby's father. But that didn't make sense because Tony would have been in his 60s in 1775, so he definitely wasn't a boy swinging on a gate. So they revised it after the fact and said Darby was swinging on the gate. So this whole narrative is about as credible as any other modern race hoax, except there's about 1 million more reasons to doubt it. But Ken Burns doesn't mention any of those problems with the narrative. He makes it seem like it happened definitively.
Yeah. The other thing that Walsh points out, which is a good catch, is the use of the passive voice so often throughout the Burns documentary. So I'm going to look forward to watching that and catching instances that Walsh flagged as well as others, I'm sure. And that is, sort of the slaves were rounded up. The slaves were rounded up, but there's no subject in the sentence. The slaves were auctioned off, but there's no subject in the sentence. Who's doing the rounding up? Who's doing the auctioning? So Ken Burns assiduously avoided having to include part of the story about slavery and indentured servitude the world over at the time, including in the West, including in America, that blacks were involved in the slave trade, that blacks were doing the rounding up of other blacks in Africa, that there were white indentured servants, and notices in the paper of escaped individuals included white indentured servants as well as black slaves, because that complicates the story of slavery as America's original sin, and the repercussions persist to this day, and everything that's wrong with America can trace back to its original sin. That shall never be forgiven, can never be fully remedied, but we can do approximations of it with all sorts of carve-outs and reparations and so on and so forth. The race-based grievance system in perpetuity. This is a discussion you should be having with people to debunk Burns's propaganda and perhaps enlighten people who know so little about our country. Ralph and Rantoul.
Yeah, good morning. Hey, I would encourage everybody to find that Matt Walsh debunking and watch it. There's excellent examples in there. And you pointed out a really good one, Dan, that the original portrait of Washington crossing the Potomac across those icy waters, originally he had a very, very quiet electric trolling motor on order. But his freaking wife canceled it.
Oh, no.
I know.
Because of the boycott?
Yes, the boycott. She said, wait a minute, our slave is being used to manufacture the electric motor. So there was a DEI component in there, as well as a minority business enterprise element. So the whole thing smacked of racism and women.
There's the rest of the story. Thank you, Paul Harvey, Ralph from Rantoul. Yeah, and actually Matt Wallace has a whole YouTube video breaking this down, in addition to what Matt Walsh did. Matt Wallace does on YouTube, so you want to check that out. Really good stuff. But, yeah, let's, get out there and be thought leaders. And part of being a thought leader is debunking the cranks, even credentialed cranks like Ken Burns. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
We've all been there. It's the opening night of the school play, or it's the piano or dance recital, or maybe it's the Christmas pageant at your church. And everyone's fumbling with their phones, leaning and straining to get the perfect snapshot of that special moment. And too often, the images come out blurry, crooked, or overexposed. For the big events in the life of your church or school, trust Tom Killoran Photography. This locally owned family business can provide the solutions you need for your important event photography. They've worked with dance studios, orchestras, and sports teams to capture those memorable moments that you want to last a lifetime. And they can do the same for you and your organization. Tom Killoran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see their portfolio, just visit KilloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN Photography.com or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Killoran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Roland's Jewelers is the absolute perfect place for the magical holiday gift for someone you love. Buying jewelry is about trust. Roland's is the jeweler I trust. I'm a customer, and I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews, so many of them, but why not? They're the best. They're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Roland's has a large selection of mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? I love mine from Roland's. I continue to be impressed at how expertly trained their staff is. Visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or RolandsJewelers.com. That's Roland's, ROLLANDS, Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust, just like I do.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:07, it wasn't as close as feared, that special election for Tennessee's 7th, the congressional seat there. Van Epps won by some 15,000 points, a double-digit win, but it still wasn't the numbers that the previous Congressman Mark Green piled up, or that Trump piled up last year. What, if anything, are we to take away from the results in Tennessee yesterday? We'll start there with Noah Rothman, 7:07. Now we check the headlines, 7 o'clock on AM 560 WID.
Another great night for the Republican Party. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump posted that on Truth Social after Matt Van Epps won a special congressional election in Tennessee.
I am humbled beyond belief.
He wins a vacant seat that had already been Republican, giving the GOP a 219-213 House majority.
President Trump was all in with us, and it made the difference. In Congress, I'll be all in with him.
Van Epps beat Democrat Afton Bain by 9 points at a district the president won by 22 last year.
Tonight is not the final result of what we wanted, but it is the beginning of something so powerful in Tennessee and across the South.
Congress continues to investigate the military operation targeting illegal drug trafficking boats off the Venezuelan coast, as Democrats want to know if what happened on one boat in September was a war crime, when it was attacked twice. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth insists
he only watched that first strike live and then left the room and left Admiral Frank Bradley in operational control, who then ordered the second strike, which killed all survivors. A U.S. official tells Fox News that Admiral Bradley did that to sink the vessel because it could have threatened other ships or even allowed survivors to then call for backup. So it was a, so to speak, self-defense move here.
Fox's Aisha Hasni at the White House. Hamas is planning to hand over more remains to Israel today, but is it a dead hostage? The last body wasn't.
Partial remains purported to be that of one of the 2 hostages still in Gaza were returned to Israel yesterday. One Israeli and one Thai citizen, both deceased, are still believed to be somewhere inside the territory. But forensic tests show that the body sent to Israel yesterday doesn't belong to either. The returns are a key part of the ceasefire deal, which both Hamas and Israel have accused the other of breaking.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Costco is suing the Trump administration. The retailer wants refunds for paying to import goods into stores. If the Supreme Court rules the president's tariffs are voided, he exceeded his authority. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 25 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A lawsuit seeking to restrict the use of force by immigration agents has been dropped. Lawyers representing a group of clergy, journalists, and protesters have filed a motion to end their suit with prejudice, meaning they cannot refile at a later date, as a result of the withdrawal of ICE agents and National Guard troops in our area. Lawyers say they have not received any reports of unconstitutional behavior since November 8th. Second Ward Alderman Brian Hopkins says he's working on a new curfew proposal for teens in downtown Chicago. Hopkins says he hopes to have that draft completed by the end of the week. He says the proposal is similar to the one vetoed by Mayor Brandon Johnson last summer, where officials could send out curfew notices up to 30 minutes before being enacted. This proposal comes after a large gathering of teens resulted in the shooting death of one teen and injuries to 8 others after Chicago's tree lighting ceremony last month. Cook County's new Chief Judge, Charles Beach, is wasting no time in addressing the county's electronic monitoring system for offenders. Beach says he's establishing a committee to review and improve communication procedures surrounding the monitoring program. Electronic monitoring has come under scrutiny following the attack of a woman on a train last month by a man who was being monitored with an ankle bracelet after being released from a psychiatric hospital following an arrest. And 3 people are dead following a crash early this morning. According to reports, that accident occurred in the northbound lanes of I-57 near 119th Street. Officials say there were actually 2 accidents involving 4 vehicles. Traffic was being diverted around the scene, causing large backups on the roadways. This news update is quickly delivered by Quick Delivery Service. For reliable same-day delivery, Quick Delivery will customize a logistics plan to pick up your items and then move them safely to their destination. Trust their 40 years of experience for peace of mind. Get a quote at quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2026? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it?
This is what Christmas is all about.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th. You can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Nice. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
Temperatures are cooling, but not concerns about inflation, market volatility, and taxes. Revisit your financial plan this fall. BestGen Wealth Partners work with individuals to develop personalized plans that help navigate changing conditions with confidence. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com to learn more.
Advisory services offered through BestGen Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and BestGen Advisors LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. BestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
This is Carol Platt-Liebel for Townhall.com. Last month, 6 Democrats released a video urging the military to defy orders from the President and Secretary of War. They implied that the military was being told to do something illicit. Yet when pressed, none of them could name a single illegal order. The goal is obvious. Sow doubt inside the ranks, then point to the turmoil they've created and call it chaos under President Trump. It's a reckless political tactic. Undermining trust in civilian control of the military isn't a game. It poisons the heart of a constitutional republic. And it's striking. Many of the same people who damaged trust in our judicial system by weaponizing it during Trump's first term are now targeting one of the last institutions most Americans still respect, our military. If the goal were to destabilize the country, they couldn't be doing it more effectively. I'm Carol Platt-Liebel.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pain, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your routine. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and try their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Simply call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, don't let it keep you from living the life you want. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Imagine spending your holiday season with family, not IT headaches from work. With managed IT help desk services by Access One, you get 24/7 expert support, an IT team that never takes time off, for roughly the same cost or less than one IT person. Access One's IT help desk is a local center here in Chicago, ready to help 365 days a year, so you have less IT downtime and no IT staffing issues. You deserve to enjoy your holiday season with family, eating home-cooked meals, not getting interrupted with IT issues. Access One can give you peace of mind during the holidays. It's a gift to yourself and your company. To speak with an Access One agent, call 800-654-1555. Access One is now offering a 90-day risk-free trial so you can discover how they fix IT for good. Learn more at accessoneInc.com/guarantee. IT support tickets piling up? Not anymore. Hand off your help desk to Access One. accessoneInc.com.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, still watching I-57 northbound as traffic is diverted to an earlier accident right at 127th and 119th. Again, this is inbound I-57. Watch for lingering delays there. An accident on the Jane Addams Tollway blocking the right shoulder if you're westbound at Route 47. Also an accident earlier on the Tri-State Tollway southbound before Jane Addams. Slow going on the Eisenhower outbound between Cicero and First Avenue. Also traffic stacking on DuSable Lakeshore northbound between Bryn Mawr and Hollywood. Traffic is stacking on the Stevenson this morning inbound between Harlem and Damon, about an 18-minute delay. Watching traffic stacking on the inbound Bishop Ford between 111th and the Dan Ryan Expressway. The Dan Ryan looking okay, and the Edens outbound from Montrose to Lake Cook, about a 17-minute drive. They support a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now check out the forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy, not as cold, with snow and flurries at times starting in the late morning. There will be little to no accumulation, but watch out for slippery spots. The high will reach 33. Tonight will remain breezy early, then clear up. It'll be the coldest air this season, so bundle up with a low of 4. Tomorrow will be very cold, but sunny with a high of 17. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. In contrast to my review of President Trump's rhetoric on the topic of immigration yesterday at the cabinet meeting, I thought the handling of the back and forth with the assembled press on the strikes against narco traffickers and their speedboats, I thought that was handled pretty well. Trump making it very clear what he intends to do, what he has been doing and intends to continue doing.
Totally unchecked. But he also allowed drugs to come in at record numbers, and hundreds of thousands of people a year died. And we're taking those son of a bitches out, Yeah,
the he, of course, is Biden. Trump had more to say when he and Hegseth were questioned about this alleged second strike that occurred on early September on a narco trafficker's boat that was taken out.
I want those boats taken out, and if we have to, we'll attack on land also, just like we attack on sea. And there's very little coming in by sea. I think we've knocked out over 90% of it. There's very little, and I understand that. There's very little. We're saving hundreds of thousands of lives with those pinpoint attacks. It's an amazing thing when you see a boat going along, and a lot of the press would like to say they're not. You see the boat, they're not maybe drugs. You see these boats. First of all, who has 5 engines on the back of a boat going in weird directions and loaded up with lots of white containers? They're bags of things. No, they've done an amazing job, and Peter's done an amazing job.
Yeah, and now enter Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide a little bit more detail about the intel gathering and planning that goes into these boat strikes, a little bit more detail to the general color given by the president, although he suggested every boat that's taken out represents 25,000 American lives saved. I don't know how you quantify that, but that's what the president said. Here's what Hegseth said, that you should be in the room to appreciate what goes into these operations.
And I wish everybody could be in the room watching our professionals
are professionals like Mitch Bradley, Admiral Mitch Bradley, and others at JSOC and SOCOM and other commanders. The deliberative process, the detail, the rigorous, the intel, the legal, the evidence-based way that we're able to, with sources and methods that we can't reveal here, that make sure that every one of those drug boats is tied to a designated terrorist organization. We know who's on it, what they're doing, what they're carrying. All these white bales are not Christmas gifts from Santa. This is drugs running on four-motor fast boats or submarines that we've also struck. No one's fishing on a submarine. And I have empowered them to make that call. Now, the first couple of strikes, as you would, as any leader would want, you want to own that responsibility. So I said, I'm going to be the one to make the call after getting all the information and make sure it's the right strike. That was September 2nd. There's a lot of intelligence that goes into that, building that case and understanding that. A lot of people providing information. I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do, and by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back, and the American people are safer because narco-terrorists know you can't bring drugs through the water and eventually on land if necessary to the American people. We will eliminate that threat, and we're proud to do it. I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded and fire and smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war. This is what you in the press don't understand. You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up on Capitol Hill and you nitpick and you plant fake stories in the Washington Post about kill everybody, phrases on anonymous sources not based in anything, not based in any truth at all. And then you want to throw out really irresponsible terms about American heroes, about the judgment that they made. I wrote a whole book on this topic because of what politicians and the press does to warfighters. President Trump has empowered commanders to do what is necessary, which is dark and difficult things in the dead of night on behalf of the American people. We support them, and we will stop the poisoning of the American people.
Yeah, it was interesting to note that, of all places, the New York Times, can they even afford air conditioning anymore? The New York Times came to Hex's defense, begrudgingly, I'm sure. The Washington Post story that Pete Hegseth was doing his best Gary Oldman impersonation from The Professional and said, kill everybody. Not true. No basis for that. New York Times repudiating the reporting of the Washington Post. You don't see that very often. For more on this and other matters, including the outcome of that special congressional election in Tennessee last night, Noah Rothman joins us, senior writer at National Review, author of the forthcoming new book, Blood in Progress, A Century of Left-Wing Violence in America. Noah, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, looking forward to that book. The handling of the boat strikes. Boy, it really seems to me that the Trump administration benefits from the D.C. press corps trying to make this into a big issue and the Dems on the Hill reintroducing resolutions and so on and so forth. I mean, the polling I've seen, this is like a 75-80% issue the president's way, taking out these drug boats.
Yeah, but we can't cherry pick the polls. The polls also say that the public has absolutely no idea what the president's strategic objective is in Venezuela, hasn't explained it very much to the public, and is actually quite skeptical of a kinetic operation against regime targets. So maybe you can say public is looking past the general lack of information about what they're providing regarding drug boats. I mean, they're saying drug boats. That's nice. But Congress has oversight here, and if you have all this information, as the Secretary said in that statement, we've done the targeting information, we have the intelligence, we know what we're hitting, then provide it to Congress in a classified setting. I haven't done that yet, and Congress is a little bit inclined to lean back on this and let the administration have all its reins. But Republicans, we're going to talk about Tennessee. Republicans are staring down the barrel of a very bad midterm year. They're not going to have a supine Congress in 2027. They better have their ducks in a row, because the next Congress will be coming for them, especially for information like this. And if the administration engages in kinetic strikes, if this deadline passes, Maduro doesn't leave, it doesn't look like he will, and they have to engage in kinetic warfare against an adversary, and the enemy always gets a vote. I mean, just look at how these strikes unfolded. And we should talk about subsequent strikes, too, because the administration's behavior has been backtracking off the conduct that they did in September of 2nd, that strike. Subsequent strikes, there were survivors who were captured and repatriated, not held as combatants in military detention centers, but repatriated to their respective countries, suggesting they didn't have the evidence to hold them in the first place. All this stuff is going to come back to haunt the administration. It had better be much more forthcoming with the information that it has relating to these targets, because it's going to come out one way or the other. The administration should prefer it to be on their terms.
Yeah, I agree with that. And obviously, if there was any, since Trump had made an overture again, if by land, if not by sea, obviously, if there's any strikes inside Venezuela, much less boots on the ground, then he needs to go to Congress.
Things go wrong.
No, well, not only that,
military operation.
Well, not only that, but he needs to go to Congress. He needs to enlist congressional support for such action, right? I mean, that's the first part, and then what ultimately happens and what comes after Maduro if he were to be taken out. Now, I think there's a credible argument to make that what comes after Maduro is the Nobel Prize winner. Why am I blanking on her name? Maria Conchado. And so that this would be progress, significant progress from Maduro. But as you say, I mean, nothing is foreclosed.
I mean, it's certainly hard to be worse than the Maduro regime.
Correct.
And if the administration were to come out and articulate a strategic rationale for a regime change operation, which is what they're talking about, then it would make a lot of sense. I mean, the logic of it is you eject this anti-American actor from the region, you stabilize this country to prevent migrants from escaping it and destabilizing both U.S. security and, for example, the triangle in Central America. You starve Cuba, communist regime, anti-American communist regime, has been a thorn in our sides for 70 years. You starve them of a revenue asset. You kick out our anti-American great powers, China and Russia, from a foothold they have in the Western Hemisphere. All that makes a lot of sense. It's also way too close to the Iraq War for this administration to embrace that logic fully. The notion of regime change in order to promote liberty and to advance American interests in this region as a bank shot in order to hem in other powers, e.g. Iran in the case of Iraq. In this case, it would be China, Russia, and Cuba. All that smacks of something that I don't think Bridge Colby and J.D. Vance and all the others who have been articulating for the last decade how stupid that operation was. I don't know if they can go ahead and say, well, actually, the logic makes sense here.
Well, yeah, although it's Neo Monroe doctrine, so it's in our hemisphere, number one. It doesn't present the same complications as Iraq or Afghanistan. Also, in addition to the benefits you mentioned, and not that I'm, necessarily endorsing this, but it does have the additional benefits of sending a message to the other bad actors in the region, including in South America, people like the president of Colombia that's sort of talk loosely about taking Trump out. It just reasserts American dominance in the hemisphere and sends a message to the bad actors that this could be you.
Yeah, and again, I'm sympathetic to that logic. I'm also sympathetic to the logic of the Iraq War, and I think we're talking about angels dancing on the head of a pin when we're trying to define the very narrow contours of this argument. Leaning into the Monroe Doctrine, for example, doesn't persuade me. When we were at the time of the Monroe Doctrine, we had, there was, if you look at the primary documents, there are distinctions that were made between, for example, the Caribbean and Buenos Aires, just by virtue of their geographic distance from the United States. I mean, it's not as though there was a blanket doctrinal interventionist strategy for every conflict that erupted in the Western Hemisphere.
No, but there's another layer of this too, which is that it provides for a compelling argument for the repatriation of so many Venezuelan migrants in this country who are here on temporary protected status because they were legitimately, in many cases, fleeing political repression, a la Maria Conchado winning the Nobel Peace Prize. So, so there's that added benefit too. That's a, more America first aligned for the likes of J.D. Vance.
Yeah, and I would welcome them to make this argument, because I would endorse it. I would probably embrace it. And I would see in it quite a lot of the arguments that I've been making myself over the last decade that the people who will be making that argument have been quite skeptical toward.
You mentioned you were not over the moon about the margin of victory in yesterday's special election in Tennessee 7. So the good news is the decorated combat helicopter pilot and West Point grad was able to beat a lunatic by 9 points, but that's 9 points in a district that Mark Green won by 22 last cycle, that Trump won by 21 in November. And I'm taking from what you insinuated that that 9 point spread does not bode well for next year.
Yeah, I think there are two ways to look at the special. First of all, it wasn't a low turnout election. It was a high turnout special election, a rare thing, approaching 2022 levels of voter participation. And, you know, the story of the day is going into this thing, the consensus that I was sifting out was roughly if Republicans underperformed, they're still expected to win, obviously, but if they managed to underperform by winning a 6 to 10 point margin of victory, that would be bad. That would be a bad indicator for 2026. It came in at about 9 points, so it's not disastrous, but it's not good. And if there was a uniform 15-point shift across the board in 2026, Republicans would be staring down the barrel of losing 40 seats or something like that. It would be, and it's not going to be a uniform shift, obviously, but if it were, it would be a wipeout. The other way to look at this is that Democrats nominated something approximating a Democratic Socialist candidate for this district, was not a great fit, and didn't perform as well as perhaps could have, given the environmental inducements, the headwinds that are, or tailwinds rather, that are favoring Democrats right now in the environment.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
you can kind of parse those two things. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, you assume many congressional candidates from the Democrat Party next year will not be running, having previously endorsed blowing up police stations, for example.
Yes, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You can't rule it out. That's the thing.
Right. You can't rule it out. But so here's the thing with why you think that race was close. That's what I'm interested in, too, because Bill McGurn had this piece in the Journal yesterday in advance of yesterday's election that suggested, that Afton Ben was making progress on the affordability issue because even if the Trump administration has made substantive progress on the loss of purchasing power that occurred under the Biden administration, they haven't articulated it coherently. And these were the top sort of two issues, aspects of the affordability issue, the top two issues in the race. And right now, Trump is underwater on that issue relative to Democrats, and that was booing Afton Ben. And so it speaks to the idea that the GOP, the Trump administration and the GOP need to get their act together on that sort of categorical issue over the next year. Is that your view as well?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it's pretty much consensus. It's not even a controversial proposition. The fact of the matter is that inflation is still rising. It's not at target rate, even though we've started making money cheaper at the Fed. The president came in, the top issue for voters in 24 was the cost of living in this country, and then shortly after he took office, he started calling it a golden age and saying, prices were coming down and we never had gas this low, $2 a gallon everywhere you look. It didn't speak to the public's experience. You're trying to tell them your own eyes are deceiving you. Never a good place to be for any politician. So he did kind of take the eye off the ball there. The affordability debate in this country drives me nuts. I think it's just all bad because the Democratic answer to affordability is pretty straightforward. It is raid the Treasury to subsidize the cost of living in your life to the degree that it can, and then expropriate as much wealth from productive sectors of the country and productive individuals and throw it to underperforming public services. That's the Democratic answer. The Republican answer should be to give you maximum control of your own money, economic liberty, allow you to patronize the sectors of the economy you think are the best performing, not the best politically connected, and thereby send signals into the economy that this guy is doing well, we should do better. If we can't do that, we go under. If we can, we sell our widget at a lower price And that ends up allowing you to save more of your money to devote it to more productive pursuits. That is the free market. And we don't have a free market party in this country right now. We certainly don't have one that's confident in the market. We have something approaching Mamdani Light from Republicans who are saying, listen, we're not going to give you all those subsidies. We'll give you a little. We're going to, reduce the cost here by intervening and putting price controls on drugs and stuff like that. It's just a lighter version of the Democratic Party's answer to the affordability issue. And I think voters are going to default to the party that seems a little bit more self-assured in its desire to expropriate money and bankrupt the country than the Republicans are, who are just really mimicking the Democrats in this effort.
Yeah, it seems like the Republicans are trying to do a hybrid. They're trying to do exactly what you said, and then they're hoping that the tax relief provided by the BBB, which should be felt next year, generates 4 or 5% GDP growth, and people feel more confident. They feel like their purchasing power is returning, improving, and that dulls the blade on the affordability
question. They're scared to death of their own bill. They're scared to death of that bill. They're trying to rename it. They're rebranding it almost a year after it passed. And yeah, they should be talking about tax relief a lot more, but they seem intimidated by it. And the fact of the matter is that bill was not just a tax cut bill. It was also a big spending bill.
Yeah.
And that's something that is also they emphasize too. So what is it? This sort of bizarre Frankenstein hybrid that you have here, it doesn't satisfy anybody by trying to do everything. It just ends up making everybody a little bit dissatisfied with the thing you didn't do to satisfy them, right? I mean, like, make a tax cut bill if it was a tax cut bill. Think back to the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017. Wildly popular, because it was a tax bill. It wasn't an everything bill. It wasn't my entire agenda bill. That's what Joe Biden tried to do with BBB, and it backfired spectacularly on them.
What's the old saying about standing in the middle of the road and getting hit by traffic going both ways? Noah Rothman, senior writer at National Review, author of the forthcoming book, Blood and Progress, A Century of Left-Wing Violence in America. We'll look forward to that. Noah, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Noah joined us in the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Well, that was a surprise. The HVAC tech just said our furnace apparently has a cracked heat exchanger, and it'll cost thousands.
Oh, you're kidding. He barely looked at it. Now he's pushing a huge repair? What should we do?
I don't really trust them. We need a second opinion. My brother Mark recommended Air Right Heating and Cooling. I looked them up and they seem legit. Great Google reviews. I'm sure they'd give us an honest assessment. He liked that they checked their carbon monoxide readings so he knows the air they're breathing is safe. And I guess it also gave a sense of how much life was left in their furnace.
I'd love that peace of mind. Plus, why spend a fortune on something we might not even need?
Get a second opinion from Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you and get $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling right now at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
The holidays are here again, and it's really getting cold outside. It's time to snuggle up by the fireplace with a delicious mug full of Bob's Belgian hot chocolate. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Each sip is so rich, so luxurious, and oh so chocolatey. Bob makes his hot chocolate with 100% imported Belgian chocolate, and it's so easy to make. You just stir it into hot milk and voila! You just made yourself the best hot chocolate ever. You can buy Bob's Belgian hot chocolate mix and sticks online at bobsbelgianhotchocolate.com Or visit us at Chris Kindle Markets at Daily Plaza, Wrigley, and Aurora. Come on out and join in on all of the holiday fun with visitors from all over the world. We can click our glasses and wish each other good cheer with a delicious mug full of Bob's Belgian hot chocolate. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Bob'sBelgianHotChocolate.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37, we'll build on part of the conversation we had with Noah Rothman when economist Steve Moore joins us, talking about what we can expect when the BBB takes full effect next year and the implications for the midterms. Also, Trump in the cabinet meeting yesterday reintroduced the idea of dividend checks and the elimination of the income tax because of all the money that tariffs are throwing off. Steve Moore, 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 25 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Second Ward Alderman Brian Hopkins is working on a new curfew proposal for teens in downtown Chicago. He says his proposal is similar to the one vetoed by Mayor Brandon Johnson last summer, where officials could send out curfew notices up to 30 minutes before being enacted. The proposal comes after a large gathering of teens resulted in the shooting death of one teen and injuries to 8 others last month. The Chris Kindle Market may be moving away from Daily Plaza. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson addressed rumors that a new venue may be in store for the holiday market in wake of vendors complaining about restrictions on the numbers of people who are allowed to enter. The mayor says the possibility of moving to a larger venue would be good for the city. The city's currently allowing about 1,000 people less than were allowed when COVID restrictions were in place. And no surprise for commuters, as Chicago has been named the most congested traffic city in the U.S., according to a new survey. Globally, Chicago was the third most congested city behind Istanbul and Mexico City. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you can save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder explains where we stand.
Inflation for the first 10 months of Trump 2.0, under 2.5%. Gas prices, 4-year low. People's incomes, adjusted for inflation, year to year up 3.4%. Crime down in most cities. So please tell me what this crisis is that's causing such acute stage 4 TDS.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-2085. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-2085 or biglou.com.
I can't believe how much better Dad's doing since we brought on Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest.
I know. He's more engaged, more himself. It makes such a difference having him right here at home. Around the photos, his old record player, his favorite recliner, all the little things he knows. That familiarity really matters with dementia.
And their caregivers, they're just incredible. They treat him with so much patience and respect.
Plus, they helped us tap into a Medicare program that offers 80 hours of respite care for Alzheimer's and dementia.
We're not worried anymore, and Dad gets to stay where he's happiest, at home.
Trust the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Serving Cook, DuPage, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. They have no hourly minimums, and you can call them 24/7 at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care only better.
Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select Steel tools. Shop online or in store.
Good morning from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Still some issues lingering overnight. An accident I-57 northbound between 127th and 119th. Traffic still being diverted as they're moving this off the roadway. Again, this is I-57 northbound between 127th and 119th. Planned for delays up to an hour. An accident blocking the right lane of Jane Addams eastbound after Briar Hill. Also an accident on Jane Addams westbound at Route 47. Traffic oozing along on the Kennedy this morning outbound between Montrose and Harlem, about a 12-minute delay. Inbound Ike, expect a 17-minute delay if you're going to be between 1st and Independence Boulevard. On the Bishop Ford, inbound slowed traffic between 154th and 130th. And the train's not operating if you're on the BNSF Railway eastbound to Union Station. Mechanical issues are forcing delays on the Metro. This report sponsored by SuperSure. Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get SuperSure. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not little sure, but SuperSure. The seismic shift is coming. SuperSure coming soon. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of the forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy and not as cold with snow and flurries at times starting in the late morning, but there will be little to no accumulation. Watch out for slippery spots. The high will reach 33 degrees. Tonight it will remain breezy in the evening, otherwise becoming clear. Dress warmly as it will be the coldest air experienced this season with a low of 4 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn. Tune in Sunday mornings from 11 to 12 for Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn, sponsored by Kuhn Capital Partners in Oak Brook.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
They're statements he's made before, but in case you thought he was having second thoughts, well, here he is.
Next year is projected to be the largest tax refund season ever, and we're going to be giving back refunds out of the tariffs because we've taken in literally trillions of dollars, and we're going to be giving a nice dividend to the people, in addition to reducing debt. As you know, I inherited a lot of debt, but it's peanuts compared to the kind of numbers we're talking about. So we're going to be making a dividend to the people, and additionally, we're going to be able to reduce debt. And as time goes by over the next 2, 3, 4 years, those numbers are going to go up. And I believe that at some point in the not too distant future, you won't even have income tax to pay, because the money we're taking in is so great, it's so enormous, that you're not going to have income tax to pay. Whether you get rid of it or just keep it around for fun or have it really low, much lower than it is now, but you won't be paying income tax.
Yeah, just keep it around for fun. It's a gas, that income tax. Well, gosh, I remember in the spring it was going to be a Doge dividend check, and then the $2 trillion in spending cuts didn't actually happen. And now we're talking about the tax revenue generated by tariffs being sufficient not only for a dividend check, not only for debt reduction, but also to eliminate the income tax. Boy, those are some magical tariffs. Of course, none of that, well, the dividend checks is certainly possible. I don't know if it's judicious. Well, I do know if it's judicious. It's not. But, I mean, that's just fairy tale stuff. That's fairy tale stuff. J.D. Vance, also in that cabinet meeting, he explained why there is this affordability crunch, sort of channeling Kevin Hassett in part, which was the good part. The other stuff is more dubious.
Why did homes get so unaffordable? Because we had 20 million illegal aliens in this country taking homes that ought by right to go to American citizens. Why did tax bills get so unaffordable? Because Democrats were raising taxes while congressional Republicans under the president's leadership were now cutting taxes. Why did food get so expensive? Because we printed trillions of dollars and threw it into green scams that made our agricultural economy suffer while Americans were paying higher prices for food. On every single one of those issues, Mr. President, I think we've made incredible progress. But it would be preposterous to fix every problem caused over the last 4 years in just 10 months. I think that we've done incredibly good.
Well, let's get an economist's perspective on those statements. Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan, good to be with you. By the way, I believe in fairy tales.
Do you? So the taxes thrown off by tariffs can cover $2.4 million in income tax revenue the federal government takes in, plus a dividend check, plus debt reduction. Really?
Well, Art Laffer and I have a piece, it'll be in the Wall Street Journal tomorrow, where we basically say that we could actually use tariff revenue to reduce not necessarily the income tax, but the payroll tax, which is paid by every worker on the first dollar that you earn. And, this is a point that we made to Trump a couple of weeks ago, which is, don't give people a rebate check, cut their payroll taxes, give them an incentive to work more, give an incentive to employers to hire more, because the payroll tax is a terrible tax and it affects everyone. So, I mean, it is true we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars of tariff revenue. Whether you like tariffs or not, they do generate revenue for the federal fisc. And you can use that revenue to offset other taxes. Now, could you eliminate entirely the income tax? Well, Dan, a little history lesson here for you, my friend. Before 1915, we never had an income tax in this country.
I know.
And,
I'm aware.
And you know this, and tariffs paid for most of the functions of government. Of course, government has exploded in its power and growth over that period of time. But it is a good goal that Trump has to say, hey, we could use tariffs and other revenues and get rid of the income tax. I mean, folks, can you imagine how supercharged our economy would be if we were the one country in the world that didn't have an income tax?
Look, I'm all for it. Obviously, I'm all for it in principle. Yeah. But the problem with this crowd is they're not really serious about addressing the spending side. So if you wanted to reduce the revenue coming into the government, right. When I say 2.4 trillion, I'm just talking about from their perspective, which is always, how do you pay for it? How do you replace this revenue? Yeah. Don't replace the revenue. That's the point. Shrink the government. Starve the beast.
In Washington. We never asked the question, quote, how do you pay for it? Because they don't pay for anything in Washington.
Well, I know, but it'd be fine. It'd be fine if it seized up the system such that they had to make adult decisions about what the government should do and shouldn't do. But they never quite want to take that step to force that conversation, to set that goal. Set a goal on the spending side, and I don't just mean Doge or the Doge principles will survive, even though Doge's charter, even though Doge has been disbanded. So I mean that was an experiment in spending restraint that talk about under delivering, and you never want to under deliver.
Well, but look, I mean, we saved about $200 billion, and that's a lot of money, and I think we shouldn't have discontinued it. But I think my point would be, incidentally, if you want to know how hard it is to cut government spending in Washington, these fools, these nincompoops, are talking about shutting down the government again, to make sure that illegal immigrants get free health care.
Yeah. So, right.
You can't make this stuff up. I mean,
right. But of course, the point to that is to say you are going to get that from that side no matter what you do. So go big. And I'm not talking about the big, beautiful bill and all that spending. I mean, go big in terms of maximizing tax relief and minimizing revenue into the government's coffer. So you're forced to make real reductions in the size and scope of government and pass that. And then because they're going to scream the same screams regardless of what you do.
Well, and of course, Republicans made these teeny-weeny little minuscule cuts in the budget this year in the budget negotiations. People are going to die. Oh my God, they're going to kill hundreds of thousands of people.
So they're going to say that no matter what you do. They're going to say that if you reduce the rate of spending 1 percentage point less than they want to increase it.
Yeah, you're cruel and unusual.
Yes.
But if you want to see the impact of lowering tax rates, though, I mean, we've talked about this so many times on your show, but it bears repeating. Just look at the difference between what's happening in states like Florida and Texas versus states like Illinois and New York, where Illinois and New York are just bleeding people. All the capital is leaving. All the rich people are leaving. They're going to Texas and Florida. Well, guess what? Income tax rate is in Texas and Florida. Oh, it's zero. Gee, maybe people really do move to places where taxes are lower.
Well, yesterday's special election in Tennessee, yes, the Republican won, but it wasn't nearly as resounding as it should have been, given the historical voting patterns in that district. And so what do you take away from that, and what's sort of the level of concern within the inner circle and Trump world, given that it seems like that quote unquote affordability issue is still the dominant issue?
I have to say I'm kind of perplexed by this, because all of the data, we've been running this data, and it shows pretty clearly and incontrovertibly that people's incomes are up more this year than the overall rate of inflation. In other words, people have more after tax and after inflation income now than they did a year ago, and yet people. Every poll is showing us. I just saw this one this morning. People, oh my God, I can't afford anything anymore. And what's really doubly perplexing about this, because the voting patterns show this too. Republicans got their clocks handed to them back in November's elections in states like Virginia and New Jersey and New York, because people are angry about prices. And all I can say about this, folks, if you're angry about prices, you should be, but 88% of that increase in the prices that you're angry about happened under Joe Biden. And inflation has actually come down. Now, prices have not come down, Dan, but the rate of increase of prices has come down from, 6-7% to less than 3%. But it's still, I don't get it why people are so angry and why they're blaming Trump for the problems that were really created under Biden. But that's politics for you.
No, I understand, but so then what are what is the approach? Either the eggheads like you have to sit with the messaging gurus to come up with a response to the affordability crisis. I thought Hassett gave a pretty succinct answer a couple of weeks ago that, as I mentioned, J.D. Vance sort of channeled there. Americans lost $3,000 worth of purchasing power under Biden. They've got about $1,200 back, so there's $1,800 to go, and from there, and we expect some more of that to be restored next year. That seems to me as succinct a explanation of where we've come from and where we're going as I've heard.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying at Unleash Prosperity almost every morning. Exactly that, and that's where J.D. Vance got those numbers, and they happen to be true. But people are just financially stressed out. Part of the problem is that young people really cannot afford housing. And the other thing that's going exploding in cost that people are really angry about is healthcare costs. Gee, how could we be complaining about healthcare costs? I thought 15 years ago we passed the Affordable Care Act. I thought healthcare costs were going to come down if the government played a bigger role in healthcare. And I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, and what's the last best handle you have on what Trump and congressional Republicans will do on extending those subsidies before a year's out?
What they'll do about what?
The extending the Obamacare subsidies for the $125,000 to $500,000 cohort before the year's out.
Well, don't you understand? People are going to die.
I understand.
We'll die if we cut the subsidies. I mean, it is so absurd. I mean, everyone knows this, that those subsidies, those extra subsidies. By the way, you can make. Are you sitting down, Dan? You can make $500,000 a year and get government Obamacare subsidies.
No, I know. We've talked about it a lot too.
How crazy is that? You give millionaires free health care? I mean, it's the stupidest thing. You just can't make this stuff up, and it makes you so angry. Look,
it's the stupidest. It's the stupidest thing right up until Republicans extend them.
Exactly, and
right?
They're likely to do that because we're not mean people. We'll give millionaires free health care. I mean, my God, we're moving towards a system where the government's going to run the whole healthcare system, and it is going to bankrupt the country. And by the way, you'll get crappy health care if the government is running it too, folks. You don't want to go down that road.
You're right. Well, do everything but make an argument.
I'm saying to you, Dan, is that look, I think based on history, Republicans will fold like a cheap tent.
But if they do, in spite of that, and in spite of the specter of another temporary pause for non-essential employees, you still think because of the tax relief that will take effect, that the first half of next year will see robust GDP growth?
Yeah, I do. I think we're going to see really strong growth next year, partly because Trump is right that a lot of people did not get their tax cut this year from the Big Beautiful Bill. They're going to get it in their. They're going to see it in their less money withheld from their paychecks. It's going to be like a pay raise everyone's going to get next year. So that, among many other factors. And look, Trump is right. We are importing hundreds. He says trillions, but I think it's close to hundreds of billions. But that's a lot of money that's coming in from abroad, invested here. That creates jobs. That creates higher incomes. We've become like a magnet for capital. So I'm very bullish on the U.S. economy for next year. Cheer up, folks. Put a smile on your face. This is a great economy. It really is. I mean, business conditions are good. There's 7 million job openings. That's the other thing. Young people are sitting there pouting, oh, my gosh, my income's... Get a job. How about getting a job? We had something in the hotline the other day that a record low number of males between the ages of 16 and 30 are working. Well, guess what? How are you going to make income? Are you going to live on the dole? You got to get a job if you're going to prosper in life.
No, they're going to gamble on sports on their apps, and that's how they're going to make it. Everybody's going to be a professional gambler.
I confess, I'm guilty of that myself. I do a lot of that, but I do have a job.
Yes. All right, we'll end on that high note. Steve Moore is employed. Economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity, again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thank you as always.
Okay, Dan, have a great week. Take care.
You too. And Steve joined us in the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The biggest time of the year for stores is during the Christmas season. And if you deal in collector coins, the main source for inventory is from people like you. We want to have our showcases fully stocked before Christmas. Last Christmas, gold was the highest ever recorded in its 5,000-year run. We don't always know if precious metals will go up or down. We're saying that if you don't appreciate that collection Grandpa left, you may want to at least find out what you can get for it. Fox Valley Coins is the trusted place where people come to buy and sell their precious metals, rare coins, and paper money. We're especially interested in purchasing now through the first week of December. And we'll still be buying after we get back from the Christmas break, but we need to purchase now. Fox Valley Coins is located one light north of I-88 on Route 59 on the Naperville-Warrenville border. We'll be closed Christmas Eve through Monday, January 4th, celebrating Jesus' birth with family and for year-end inventory. Merry Christmas from Fox Valley Coins. Family-owned integrity since 1981. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Business owners, is your company's cybersecurity ready to handle today's cyber attacks? They're getting more and more sophisticated every year. Some companies never recover due to the fallout. In 2021, for example, a ransomware group called DarkSide gained access to Colonial Pipeline through a compromised password. The impact, $4.4 million paid in ransom. In 2017, Equifax had a massive breach which ended up costing more than $700 million in settlements. Large companies from Target and Yahoo to small businesses, including medical practices, have suffered major losses due to cyber attacks. Many had to close their doors. Access One is here to protect your business 24/7, year after year. Access One, they're a proud sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer. These are the guys you can count on. Cybersecurity isn't just about IT. It's about protecting your survival and your trust with customers. If you're concerned about your cybersecurity, get a free baseline cybersecurity assessment from Access One by calling 800-654-1555 or filling out the contact form at accessoneinc.com. Spell out the one in that website URL, accessoneinc.com. Access One is here in Chicago. Again, the number is 800-654-1555 to schedule your free baseline cybersecurity assessment or visit them online at accessoneinc.com.
When someone you love is living with memory loss, finding the right care isn't just important, it's everything. At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, memory care isn't an add-on, it's all we do.
When Mom moved into Terra Vista, everything changed. She's safe, engaged, and surrounded by people who truly understand dementia. And I finally get to just be her daughter again.
Terra Vista was built specifically for caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, with secure indoor and outdoor spaces, innovative therapies, and a community that feels like home. Residents stay active, connected, and respected every single day.
And the best part? Mom can live with dignity, and I have peace of mind.
If memory care is in your future, choose the community designed for it. Choose Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace. Schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM560 sent you. Terra Vista, where memory care lives.
Honey, what's for dinner?
Honestly, nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Because every time I need a pan, I have to unload half the kitchen first.
It's like Jenga, but with casserole dishes.
Exactly. And I always lose.
At Forever Remodeling, we create kitchens that fit your life, not the other way around. From smart storage to stunning finishes, start cooking in a kitchen built just for you. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, we'll talk to Christine Smith from the Center for Client Safety about an abortion clinic in Southern Illinois that is arguably endangering the lives of women. And probably not the only one, since that's a cottage industry under this governor, isn't it? Christine Smith on the Hope Clinic at 8:08. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560, WIND Chicago.
It's a Make America Affordable Again agenda. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and President Trump plans another way to bring more prices down, like he says he already has on a lot of things since returning to office.
The word affordability is a Democrat scam.
The morning after the president said that at a cabinet meeting, Fox's Aisha Hasni reports from the White House.
We are expecting to see the president at 2:30 later today as this economic push continues. He's going to have a big announcement in the Oval Office, reportedly about new fuel efficiency standards aimed at bringing car prices down.
Democrats made affordability a big issue in a special congressional election in Tennessee, but a Republican, Matt Van Epps, prevailed.
And I will work hard to earn your trust.
The Van Epps victory keeps a vacant House seat Republican, giving the GOP 219-213 House majority.
Together, we'll bring down the cost of living.
He beat Democrat Afton Bain by 9 points, and when she called to congratulate Van Epps, she urged him,
do not let the Affordable Care Act subsidies expire. Do not raise health care costs for working families in Tennessee.
Those subsidies expire at the end of the year for millions who have Obamacare coverage. A week after the ambush attack on National Guard members on patrol in Washington, D.C., killing one, seriously wounding the other, there is fallout. The suspected gunman, who pleaded not guilty to charges from his hospital bed yesterday, is an Afghan national. And now President Trump's freezing immigration applications from Afghanistan and 18 other countries under travel bans or restrictions he imposed in June.
New and existing applications to live and work in the U.S. are on hold for citizens of those countries. Already scheduled final interviews for citizenship and citizenship ceremonies are canceled. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Agency announced last week a pause on all asylum decisions, and the State Department said it was halting visas for Afghans who assisted in the U.S. war effort.
That's Fox's Chris Foster. It is day 4 of the manhunt in Georgia for a convicted prisoner who escaped from a hospital where Timothy Shane was being treated after an attempted suicide while behind bars. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 25 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Mayor Brandon Johnson says he wants to make Chicago the safest and most affordable big city in the country, but Chicago Republicans say the city is not safe or affordable. Aldermen have rejected Johnson's plans for higher taxes on businesses, while the mayor has dismissed city council proposals for spending cuts. The mayor says a plan to raise garbage fees would still leave a $700 million hole in the budget.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to use the tools that are available to me to protect the working people of Chicago. That is my sole responsibility in this moment.
Chicago is facing a budget deficit of more than $1.1 billion. Cook County's new chief judge, Charles Beach, is wasting no time in addressing the county's electronic monitoring system for offenders. Beach says he's establishing a committee to review and approve communication procedures surrounding the monitoring program. Electronic monitoring has come under scrutiny following the attack of a woman on a train last month by a man who was being monitored with an ankle bracelet after being released from a psychiatric hospital following an arrest. 3 people are dead following an early morning crash. According to reports, the accident occurred in the northbound lanes of I-57 near 119th Street. Officials say there were actually 2 accidents that involved 4 vehicles. Traffic was being diverted around the scene, causing large backups on the roadways. And a police officer who was arrested by ICE agents has returned to the force pending the outcome of his immigration case. The Hanover Park police officer was arrested on October 15th for overstaying his visa. He's been released on bond. Officials with the village of Hanover Park say the federal government had authorized him to continue working despite his expired visa. This news update is quickly delivered by Quick Delivery Service. For reliable same-day delivery, Quick Delivery will customize the logistics plan to pick up your items and move them safely to their destination. Trust their 40 years of experience for peace of mind. Get a quote at quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Department store chain Macy's shares are under pressure despite topping third quarter earnings expectations and posting its strongest same-store sales growth in 13 quarters. What investors don't like, the company's earnings guidance for the holiday quarter, which fell short of analyst estimates as the company takes what CEO Tony Spring calls a prudent view of the quarter. The company predicts the adjusted earnings per share will range between $1.35 to $1.55 for the fourth quarter. American Eagle shares are surging after issuing bullish holiday guidance and raising its full-year forecast after posting better than expected quarterly results. The retailer betting on celebrity partnerships and marketing campaigns to boost demand during the holiday season. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Lillian Wu, invested in you.
Hugh Hewitt doesn't see the evidence.
Do you believe President Trump has issued any illegal orders?
To my knowledge, I am not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes.
Why can't someone answer the question? Not one of them has been able to come up with one illegal order because they made it all up.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
We couldn't decide if we needed in-home care for Dad.
Right. Just some help here and there with bathing, organizing his meds, a walk through the neighborhood.
Oh, exactly. But everywhere we looked, we had a 4-hour minimum. It was more care than he needed. and it didn't make sense to spend extra for it.
Then we found Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. No minimum hours. We were shocked.
Now a caregiver stops by once or twice a week for just an hour or two to help with the small things that make a big difference.
And Mom loves the visits. It's not just help, it's companionship.
At Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, we understand that not every family needs round-the-clock care. We serve DuPage, Cook, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. We conduct free in-home assessments and we guarantee compatibility. Call Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest today at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care. Only better.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pain, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your routine. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and try their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Simply call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, don't let it keep you from living the life you want. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit AlmostFreeTeeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
In the Team Hawkbird Traffic Center, we've got some sticky spots around the area. The Dan Ryan Express lanes inbound between 59th and Stevenson, about a 12-minute backup, 25-minute delay if you're on the Ike inbound between 1st and Independence Boulevard. Also, the other direction, Ike outbound between Cicero and 17th, about a 30-minute delay there. Along I-57, that earlier accident has now cleared, although lingering issues still inbound at 119th. Expect about an hour delay in the area. Slow going on the Kennedy this morning, inbound between Keeler and Washington. 30 minutes delayed on the Stevenson inbound between Harlem and Western Avenue. On the Reagan Memorial, an accident blocking 2 right lanes if you're eastbound at Highland. Expect some delays there. Finally, some minor delays on the trains. CTA Blue Line westbound at Pulaski. An earlier door problem forcing some delays there. This report is service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of the forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy, not as cold, with snow and flurries at times starting in the late morning. There will be little to no accumulation, but watch out for slippery spots. The high will reach 33. Tonight will remain breezy early, then clear up. It'll be the coldest air this season, so bundle up with a low of 4. Tomorrow will be very cold, but sunny with a high of 17. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. As anybody who's been paying attention knows, Governor Jelly Belly's raison d'etre is to make Illinois the abortion capital, not just of the Midwest, but of the country. In addition to pushing abortion on demand, including after birth. That's his position. Taxpayer financed, of course. The governor also founded an own independent group to spend money on pro-abortion advocacy around the country and support candidates similarly disposed. After the Dobbs decision, when states in the Midwest around Illinois acted to make sort of reasonable restrictions that are supported by a supermajority of their state's electorate. Things like notification, parental notification, restrictions on late-term abortions, those sorts of things. You know, the majority of Americans, even in a place like Illinois, don't believe that an abortion is an event to be celebrated. They believe, a majority, that abortion should be legal, but that also, to borrow from the lexicon of the left from 30 years ago, before they were fully radicalized into neo-Marxists, safe, legal, and rare. Safe, legal, and rare. But that's not the position of J.B. Pritzker. It's not the position of the Illinois political ruling class. It is the position of the Illinois electorate, interestingly. But the reasonable and the moderate on the issue get bullied and cowered by the hysterics on the left. You know, these ghastly women from the North Shore and Hinsdale and the male impersonators they're married to. You know who I'm talking about. Well, in addition to sort of the principle of the matter, in terms of where is there a consensus on abortion restrictions, because abortion on demand, the position of J.B. Pritzker is one that is shared by a very small percentage of the electorate. It nonetheless persists as the order of the day. One of the issues we've discussed on the show, but deserves more attention because it gives lie to the idea promulgated by pro-aborts like Jelly Belly that all that pro-lifers are interested in is the prospect of the child. They don't care about the woman. And, of course, all the pregnancy resource centers that exist give lie to that. But also what gives lie to that is pro-life organizations who support ensuring that women are safe even if they do go to a Planned Parenthood or another abortion mill. We don't want what happened in Philadelphia to happen around the country. You remember Kermit Gosnell, that butcher, who's, I think, serving life in prison now. Women dying on the operating table. And so one would think, and I think here's another consensus opinion, any institution that does invasive surgical procedures should be regulated and licensed by the state. There should be oversight to ensure that these are safe environments, in this case for women. Well, you would think that. But so radical are the ideologues, the pro-abortion ideologues like Jelly Belly on this issue, that there are abortion mills in Illinois that are not safe for women because they're not treated like every other health institution that performs invasive surgical procedures. And the latest example of that, apparently, is the Hope, the ironically entitled, of course, Hope Clinic in Granite City, Illinois, which is southern Illinois, far south. The investigation has been done by the Center for Client Safety, and to provide details on what's going on at the Hope Clinic, we're pleased to be joined by Christine Smith, who's a Chief Investigative Officer at the Center for Client Safety. Christine, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So give us the details on the Hope Clinic, what is going on there, and what we should be concerned about.
Yeah, sure. So first I'll tell you what they're trying to do, and then I'll give you a little background on the facility itself. So right now they are trying to relinquish their licensure status as an ambulatory surgery treatment center, which means they would, not be licensed that way by the health department. They would not be subject to inspections anymore, and they would not have to meet, many, many standards that are very, very typical that, abortion facilities need to meet in many other states across our country. So they're looking to do away with that licensure, operate unregulated by the health department, Currently, they are offering at their Granite City location abortions up to 27 weeks and 6 days. They also opened a new location in Chicago a couple of months ago, and they proudly offer abortion up to 34 weeks at that location. And I wonder if they plan to expand, their offering to 34 weeks in their Granite City location as well, once they become unregulated by the health department.
So 34 weeks, eight and a half months.
Yes, exactly. So Illinois law, says through viability abortion is legal. However, there are very loose exceptions that they appear very, willing to use to their advantage. For example, an exception like maternal mental health and things that are kind of hard to actually pin down, offer these loopholes to offer abortion even past viability, which is already, very, very loose.
So just to put a fine point on it, the Hope Clinic in Southern Illinois, and they're catering,
Mm-hmm.
that's on the border. They're catering to the St. Louis crowd, right? That's why it's there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And not only that, if I could real quick, not only the St. Louis crowd, but they, according to the health department's own inspection in 2022, they saw up to 650 patients a month. And I believe that has only increased since it's become such a gigantic destination. There are people that see women flying in, driving in from all across the country to access later-term abortions there.
And just to be clear about this, so the Illinois Department of Public Health told you that the Hope Clinic is surrendering its license as a surgical facility, and so you think, so that means they're shutting? No. They're surrendering. They're surrendering their surgical license. It doesn't impact their business in any way. Being an abortion mill, it just eliminates the oversight, that uncomfortable oversight they were otherwise under by holding that license.
Correct. Exactly. Right. I had people tell me, hey, we saw this about Hope Clinic. They're giving up their license. Are they closing? And I said, nope. That is definitely not what's happening. It's actually a reality worse than, exists right now. They will now just operate without that oversight, like you said. So that's what's going on.
And from your investigation into the Hope Clinic, what is their track record to the extent that that's knowable?
Yeah, so just from 2022 to 2024 alone, in just those few years, there's over 24 medical emergency reports that I've received from people that are their sidewalk advocates on the ground ministering to women, and I've corroborated those reports with FOIA records. I can see 911 records there. And they've had several more emergencies in 2025 as well. And then back in December 2022, which, by the way, is the last time that they were inspected, despite actually being licensed, these last few years. In 2022, they failed an inspection. They did not follow the required emergency management protocols. So for multiple patients that had a direct transfer to the emergency room, they failed to complete the right transfer paperwork, putting all of those patients in severe risk, even more risk than they already were. And, again, that had the potential to affect over 650 patients that were seen that month.
So they were last inspected in 2022. They failed that inspection. Then between 2022 and 2024, there were more than 24 reported medical emergencies, but no follow-up on the 2022 inspection. What does the Department of Public Health have to say about that?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I recently, in preparation for the public hearing we had to, make it known that we opposed this relinquishing of licensure, I FOIA'd the health department to ask for any inspections to make sure I didn't miss any that have occurred, between that 2022 date and now. And they told me no. All they gave me was 2022. They said, that's all we have. And they said, by the way, Hope Clinic told us that they were surrendering their license in September of 2025. And I said, okay, that's interesting because the Health Facilities Services and Review Board, which is the agency responsible for, going through this process of letting them relinquish their licensure, claimed that they did not have their application until the end of October. So that raises questions of, did Hope Clinic plan to try to circumvent any processes? Did they think that they could simply just tell the health department that they weren't going to be licensed anymore? And then they found out, no, you have to actually go through a process and, be subject to a public hearing like they were. The Department of Public Health did not seem to mind. They told me if I had any more questions about it, I could contact the facility itself.
Well, yeah, sure. I'm sure they'll be forthcoming.
Exactly.
What happened at the hearing on Monday?
Yeah, so on Monday, we were hit with quite a surprise blizzard there, snow a lot earlier than we planned. So that was crazy, and I'm really glad I still got to be there and go. And so the Health Facility Services and Review Board held the hearing. We had a few minutes each to give testimony, and my focus really was just making sure that this process of the relinquishing of their licensure is done thoroughly, so we're not missing anything. And I brought all of this to the attention of the board, these medical emergencies, their field inspection, because it seems that these agencies aren't talking to each other. The Department of Health and the Facility Services and Review Board don't seem to be talking to each other. So I wanted to make sure that the Review Board had all of the information, brought that to their attention, and I called for a thorough inspection before any licensure decision is made. And not only that, but inspecting a greater number of patient records than their 2022 inspection, given those medical emergencies and stuff. So that's what I'm hoping to see, is a very thorough inspection to bring anything to light that needs to be.
So do you have any handle on how prevalent this sort of case study is in Illinois and states like Illinois that are abortion on demand, taxpayer funded states?
So do you mean like how many are operating unlicensed?
Yeah. How many are operating like Hope Clinic is, with about the same track record or worse?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know the exact number of the facilities that are operating unlicensed. I do know that their new Chicago location also does not appear on the Ambulatory Surgical Treatment Center directory, so I believe they are unlicensed as well. And again, that's the location that's probably offering up to 34 weeks. So, that's very concerning.
And the whether they're licensed or unlicensed, that's a state by state regime, right? So in Indiana, they might be, and in Illinois they're not, for example.
Correct. Right. Yeah. So Washington State, Virginia, they're unlicensed. There's others, but and then obviously in some states they are licensed, and usually when they're licensed in the state, it's as an ambulatory treatment center. That's very common.
And is there any sort of research on the relative safety records of the licensed versus the unlicensed?
You can look at examples like you referenced Gosnell in the beginning of your monologue there, and of course there's probably more detailed studies out there. There's a really great study compiled by Americans United for Life called Unsafe. And anyone can Google that and read through that. And there's years of inspection data that's compiled there, and it goes state by state and shows a little bit of that. So I'd encourage anyone to look that up and reference it, if they're curious about some details. But essentially, when you allow a facility like this to be unregulated, you're bringing back those, quote, back alley abortions that, decades ago, people on the pro-abortion side were trying to avoid, apparently. Mm-hmm. And now we're bringing that back. And, that's just very ironic to see.
And I assume, it's unusual for women like those 24 health emergencies that happen at the Hope Clinic between 22 and 24. Women don't want to come forward for, obvious reasons of, privacy and so forth.
Yeah. Well, that's true. It usually takes women several years, sometimes even, a decade or more, to really be ready to talk about their experience. And I'll tell you another thing, because Illinois is such a destination, a lot of these women that have experienced medical emergencies may have, had that happen to them, and then they go back to their home state, wherever that may be. And it's kind of hard to get, really good data on what's going on when a lot of these people don't actually even live in Illinois.
Yeah, that's a good point. Christine Smith, Chief Investigations Officer at the Center for Client Safety. Christine, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And she joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information. start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by extending their wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows for only $14.98. It gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more, or multi-use pillows for only $9.98. Get body pillows for $29.98 with a free pillowcase. So go to mypillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98. Kings only $1 more. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. Order $100 or more and your order ships absolutely free. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026.
Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain doesn't just hurt your body. It steals your life. I know because I've seen it with people I care about. Maybe you're dealing with it right now. Here's what I love about Dr. Ashley Caravelli and QC Kinetics. They get it. They're not pushing surgery. They're not handing out pills. They're using your body's own healing power to fix what's broken. This is cutting edge. I've talked to people who have been through this. These are real results. No going under the knife, no medication fog, no sitting in the couch or sitting on the couch recovering. Just your body doing what it was designed to do, which is heal itself. QC Kinetics gives you long-term relief. So make 2026 the year you get back to living without pain. They've got weekend appointments, free consultations, and you can use your HSA or FSA spending accounts. Your first consultation is free, so don't hesitate to call to find out more. 312-827-6261 is that number. Again, 312-827-6261. Free consultation. Schedule it by calling 312-827-6261.
Don't get stuck with a cold shower this fall. Give CenterGuard Plumbing a call. Get a new 40-gallon water heater installed for just $1,195 for standard installation, or a 50-gallon heater for $1,295 standard installation. A proud new sponsor of AM 560, CenterGuard is offering specials on new water heaters. Don't wait. The cold temperatures are coming, and the same can happen to your water heater. If you're having hot water issues or your water heater's over 8 years old, take advantage of this fall special today. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon, and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. They'll even haul away your old one, no charge. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive fall special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
We want to thank our Food for the Poor business benefactors, those businesses that have already signed up for this holiday season, including DSP Insurance, South Suburban Humane Society, Applied Mechanical, Chris Jacobs' team of Century 21 Circle, Humane Indiana, and many more. Thank you for participating again this year, or if it's your first time, thank you for participating. Yep, we're doing our Food for the Poor campaign. It's well underway. You heard us discuss this with Paul Jacobs yesterday when every donation was 3x'd, and we got a great response, so we appreciate everybody who donated yesterday as well. The Food for the Poor campaign is our partnership with Food for the Poor to help provide life-saving food to children in Latin America and the Caribbean, where families and communities have little or no access to food, safe water, or the basics of life, particularly thinking about countries like Jamaica that had the added layer of a tropical storm or hurricane that devastated that island. We've long partnered with Food for the Poor, as you know, because Food for the Poor has a great track record of doing this kind of work. 40 years, 17 countries. They fed millions of people and provided more than $15 billion in aid. As I always say, check them out on Charity Navigator. They're top rated. 90 cents on every dollar, 90 cents plus on every dollar goes directly to the clients. So a proper distribution of overhead versus resources directly to the mission. Your gift of $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For $300, that's food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, you just call 844-862-4673. Or online, you can do so at 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That business benefactor program that I referenced, thanking those business benefactors. Here's how that works. You make a tax-deductible gift of $2,500 to Food for the Poor. We at AM 560 give you, your business, 41-minute commercials to air on our airwaves. Prime broadcast hours, Monday to Friday, between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. It's a great marketing deal, the best in Chicago radio. And at the same time, you will be providing life-saving food and water for more than 30 children in Latin America and the Caribbean. Whereas Paul Jacobs said yesterday, talking about a partner on the ground in Honduras, pets in America live better than many, many people in Honduras, for example, another country that served. So it gives you some perspective. To become a business benefactor and join those other enlightened businesses I mentioned, you call John Gallagher. He's our general manager. 847-472-8950 is his number. Again, to become a business benefactor, call John at 847-472-8950.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:38, we'll talk to Natalia Merkever. She's the director of 15 Days, the real story of America's pandemic school closures. The real story. All right, we'll get perspective on the school closures and the ongoing fallout from those school closures. Natalia Merkever, 15 Days director, 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 26 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The Chicago City Council is set to consider a proposal banning hemp products in the city. That proposal would prohibit the sale of any hemp-derived product in Chicago. Hemp products would still be available at dispensaries, though. Violators of the proposal would face heavy fines. The Trump administration is set to enforce a federal ban on hemp and THC products starting November of next year. A shelter-in-place order has been placed following a domestic incident in Makina this morning. According to reports, officers responded to the 18,000 block of Marjorie Parkway where an armed suspect had barricaded himself. Residents within a 2-block radius have been asked to shelter in place while officers negotiated with the subject. And 3 people are dead following a crash early this morning. According to reports, that accident occurred in the northbound lanes of I-57 near 119th Street. Officials say there were actually 2 accidents that occurred involving 4 vehicles. Traffic was diverted around the scene, causing large backups on the roadways. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Gallagher sees hope of less tension.
Trump meets Mamdani in the Oval Office, and you'd have thought they were just a couple of bros. I expected it to go badly. On the other hand, I kind of liked that it didn't. There's a part of me that says if you really are serious about lowering the temperature, the political rhetoric and the temperature in America, well, this was a giant step in that direction, was it not?
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560, The Answer.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. It's your last chance to get exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X9 14 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing, and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, where PCs are up to 35% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo. Your company's IT needs used to be handled by a trusted local partner, but now they're a faceless nationwide service provider. Response times are slower, projects drag on, and you're stuck explaining your systems to new techs again and again. At Unique Computing Solutions, we've welcomed over 10 clients who are fed up with that exact experience. We're locally rooted, relationship-driven, and committed for the long haul. Get a free IT assessment today at UniqueComputingSolutions.com. That's UniqueComputingSolutions.com. Your IT challenges solved.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by extending their wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows for only $14.98. It gets even better. Upgrade to a queen-size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more, or multi-use pillows for only $9.98. Get body pillows for $29.98 with a free pillowcase. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98. Kings only $1 more. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. Order $100 or more and your order ships absolutely free. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026.
The Liberty Cigar Company was founded with one mission in mind: to tell America's magnificent story. We pay homage to the seminal people in American history by way of a meticulously crafted premium cigar, custom blended to match the personality of the one so honored. This holiday season, give your special someone the gift of history, as told by a Liberty cigar. Every box is beautifully gift wrapped at no charge. Check out all our cigar collections at libertycigars.com. That's libertycigars.com, where every cigar has a story to tell.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, watching solid traffic here on the Kennedy outbound between Montrose and Harlem. About an 8-minute backup there. The trains are stopped due to police activity on the CTA Blue Line. That's both east and westbound trains at Pulaski, so watch for delays there. On the Dan Ryan Express lanes, we got some backups inbound between 59th and 18th Street. A 33-minute backup on the Ike if you're inbound between Des Plaines and Western Avenue. Lingering traffic issues from that earlier accident overnight on I-57 inbound between Tri-State and 127th, about a 30-minute backup. Minor delays on the Edens if you're outbound between Pratt and Church Street. And slow traffic on the eastbound Jane Addams from an earlier accident. That's right at Briar Hill Road. This report sponsored by Indeed.com. When you're trying to find quality candidates, all the searching, screening, and interviewing can become a job itself. You need Indeed, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to interview, screen, and hire quality people. Visit Indeed.com/credit. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of the forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy and not as cold, with snow and flurries at times starting in the late morning, but there will be little to no accumulation. Watch out for slippery spots. The high will reach 33 degrees. Tonight it will remain breezy in the evening, otherwise becoming clear. Dress warmly, as it will be the coldest air experienced this season with a low of 4 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So more effort afoot to ensure the record is correct in terms of what transpired during the pandemic, as we continue to do damage assessments on a rolling basis, checking in from time to time. I know people probably want to just hurry past 2020 to 2023 and pretend like, hey, at least we got through it and things aren't so bad. You can't dwell on the past, of course, but it'd be nice to memorialize it properly so you don't repeat the same mistakes. In furtherance of that, Natalia Marakover is co-founder of Restore Childhood. She's also the director of a film, 15 Days, The Real Story of America's Pandemic School Closures. 15 Days is the film. It focuses on the teachers' union role in school closures, which was pretty well established. We talked about it quite a bit. I mean, the director of the CDC was taking her cues from Randy Weingarten at the American Federation of Teachers in terms of policy as it pertains to school closures. That doesn't sound like somebody who is a woman of science. It sounds like somebody who's a woman of politics, as they both were. Natalia Marakover, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dan, for having me.
So 15 days, what's the the basis of the title?
Well, they kept saying 15 days to slow the spread. We thought that schools were closing for 15 days, but we always knew that it was going to be far longer to reopen them.
Right. Yeah. So yes, 15 days to slow. Was it slow the spread? I can't even remember now. Slow the spread, stop the spread, bend the curve, or was that David Beckham? I can't remember. But yeah.
Yes. Flatten the curve. 15
Flatten the
days to flatten
curve.
the curve. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the film shows how synchronized the propaganda was across many different media channels about this.
Yeah, I mean, I've even forgotten some of the sloganeering. I guess I have to go reprogram myself. I am standing in my idiot circle, though, at present, just out of an abundance of caution. I remember that one.
Yes.
So give us sort of the fresh perspective or the details here with respect to school closures that you want to make sure are not lost in the annals of history with respect to how this went down.
Sure. I think some people still believe we did the best we could with the information we had, but I think what our film does most strongly is show that the information was always there. Other countries, Scandinavian countries, most of Europe, states like Florida and other red states reopened schools without any excess deaths. So it was never necessary to keep schools closed beyond the initial few weeks, or even, I'll give them the spring of 2020. That's, that was excessive too, because in the Scandinavian countries, schools reopened much quicker. But into the 2020-2021 school year, all the information was known. Scientists like Jay Bhattacharya, Martin Kulldorff, Sunetra Gupta from Stanford, Harvard, and Oxford came forward with the Great Barrington Declaration, which was immediately signed by thousands of doctors around the country and around the world. And what that declaration called for was really for a revert to the actual pandemic plan, the pandemic playbook, which actually did exist. And that was focused protection. You protect the elderly. You let the youth who are not vulnerable to this go back to normal as quickly as possible, because they suffer from the isolation and the masking and all of these supposedly protective non-pharmaceutical interventions, NPIs, which we heard over and over again back then, that are supposed to protect people. They do not protect the youth. Once the youth miss their developmental milestones, whether it's learning how to read or hanging out with their friends or, playing sports and being mentored by their coaches, those milestones are not regainable. And I think we're seeing the fallout of that now. The teachers' unions saw the children and our schools as collateral damage. They held them hostage. They closed our schools, pretended like they were their schools, and then they waited and extorted the federal government for a huge bailout in order to reopen our schools, $189.5 billion over the course of the end of the Trump administration and into the early Biden administration to reopen the schools.
Yeah, but it was great here in Cook County. We were able to launch a universal basic income pilot program that's now permanent. So, the positives from it, according to the tax eaters here. Anyway, Stephanie Edmonds is a former New York City teacher who co-produced this film with you. I wonder, what is her perspective? Has anything changed inside the New York City public schools as a result of what went down and what we now understand to be true? Or is there very little understanding of what we know to be true within those institutions? And at some point, if something like this occurs again, we'll see all the same mistakes repeated.
Oh, well, Stephanie's an interesting story, because Stephanie was a high school history teacher in the Bronx, and she lost her job because she refused the COVID vaccine mandate that they had for New York City Department of Education teachers. The union did not fight for her, and so she's no longer in the public school system. She works at a small farm school in Connecticut. She's actually far happier. But in terms of what happens inside the public school system, I can answer that. That money was used to erode learning standards, to bring in more unqualified, young, indoctrinated teachers from the schools of education. We also started to really push in social emotional learning, which I think we all know by now is extraordinarily detrimental to young people because it creates this victimizer paradigm. They feel like they're always not well and they always need help, and they're victims. They're not capable of taking charge of their destiny. It's a terrible thing. Abigail Schreier has written extensively about this in her book, Bad Therapy. But anyway, so that's they ushered in a social justice agenda into schools very rapidly and eroded learning standards. And now I just saw an article the other day that even students at UCSD, San Diego, one of the best schools in the country, can't do basic math.
Yeah, no, we talked about that quite a bit. I mean, and that's everywhere. But so the teachers union, like the relationship between Randy Weingarten and Rochelle Walensky, the CDC director at the time, who deferred to Randy Weingarten on the opening of schools, or the continued closure of schools, more to the point. So, I mean, what is your take? Were they just using this as an opportunity? Did they really not understand what was going on, and they were just maximizing this opportunity, as you described, for the cash and prizes and the additional staff and serving their membership at the expense of the kids? Or did they perfectly understand that this was unnecessary, but it was a great opportunity? You know, it's sort of like what did I mean, especially Rochelle Walensky, since she's supposed to be some sort of public health expert. I mean, what did they really understand, and where does the politics come in between what they understand to be true and what they want to accomplish in this moment?
That's a great question. Rochelle Walensky was a parent in a Tony suburb of Boston prior to taking the CDC role, and there's documentation of her advocating at her school board for more lax COVID restrictions. I think she said that 6 feet of distancing was unnecessary and that 3 feet was more than sufficient. This is all documented. So I think Rochelle Walensky understood very well, and her position was a politically appointed position. I think it was absolute dereliction of duty and a really a takeover of that institution, the CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics, all of them. The teachers' unions were controlling them, and in a congressional testimony, which actually Stephanie and I attended, that Randy Weingarten had to testify about whether she had Rochelle Walensky's phone number and was coordinating with her. She didn't want to answer that question, but she did, and the answer was yes. I do have Rochelle Walensky's phone number. Now, Debbie Lesko, who I believe was a doctor and was one of the representatives who was questioning her, was saying, wow, I am on, the medical committee here, and I don't have Rochelle Walensky's phone number. Why do you? So there's a tremendous level of coordination. I would also point out that I don't think that the teachers' unions serve the teachers. I think that's a misunderstanding of what the teachers' unions do. They do not represent the interests of the teachers. There's been research done since the school closures that the teachers who went back to teaching actually are healthier, happier. As you know, living in your apartment in your pajamas for 2 years, doing Zoom calls is not really a good, healthy, productive life. And the people who went back to their kids, because that's why they're teachers, right? They want to be with their kids. They got, much better results, health-wise, happy-wise, et cetera. But I think that may be true, but I don't see any revolt afoot among the teachers' unions against the leadership for the choices that they made, which, frankly, most of the teachers supported in the first place. So they may be acting averse to their interests. They may be acting, borderline irrationally, other than not having to work, I guess, is a rational choice and still get paid. But at least it's following the incentives. But it's not like that. The rank and file membership of the AFT or the New York Teachers Union or the Chicago Public School Teachers Union, CTU, it's not like they're revolting against their leadership for shutting down the schools. No, of course not. And I'm not saying that they actively wanted to reopen schools. But what I am saying is that Randy Weingarten and Becky Pringle acted like ventriloquists. They created narratives. that they then fed to the rank and file teachers, and they told them, they said, hey, teachers, you are not safe. You're going to go back to those buildings, and you're going to die in those buildings because you know what? Trump is president, and we have not secured those buildings. You are going to die. And you know what they did next? They went to the black and brown community and said, your children are not safe in those schools. If they go back, they're going to die. And so what happened was the teacher said, we're not going back. We won't die for the DOE. And Randy Weingarten said, look, the teachers don't want to die. They don't want to go back to school. We have to keep them closed. And then they went to the black community, and the black community said, we're not going to send our kids back. We don't want them to die. And they said, look, it's white supremacy to want to reopen schools. The black community doesn't want to. So it's only white people who want to reopen schools. So you're white supremacists. So we have to keep them equitable. So we have to keep them closed.
And who, what percentage of the people that were fed that line and participated in that hoax know they were scammed, or will acknowledge they were scammed?
The answer to that.
Yeah, right. I mean, that
probably very few.
Yeah, I mean, my point is to say, I know this is an effort to prevent this from happening again the next time there's some sort of viral outbreak, but it seems to me that at least in big city America and these big government school systems with the big teachers unions, I mean, they'll do it all again if they have a chance. They won't change a thing.
Oh, I mean, they're doing it now. It doesn't have to be like a big school closure with a capital S, capital C. They're cutting back on hours. They say four-day-a-week school is enough because parents and teachers and students are tired. It's too much time. They're cutting back on educational standards. They are. There's so many things that the teachers unions are doing. They're pushing community schools, which have medical centers and medicalize kids without parental permission.
Yeah, we know that.
I mean, yeah. You should look up community schools. It's a big push by the teachers unions because guess what? The teachers unions don't just represent teachers. This is something I learned during the pandemic. They also represent healthcare workers, and they also represent many retirees. So they're trying to make sure that their retirement plans are loaded with lots of cash, So it's a mistake to think that the teachers are really their customers. They're their product.
Yeah, no question about that. Natalia Marakover, she's the co-founder of Restore Childhood and the director of the film 15 Days, the real story of America's pandemic school closures. Natalia, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with the film. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dan. It was great to talk to you.
You too. And Natalia joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
You stink. I think you're going to have a good Christmas, all right? I like beef and cheese. You don't smell like Santa.
On AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chivato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, but having a bank that you can trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Everyone is watching major movements ripple through the markets these days, sparked by new policy shifts out of Washington and activity from the Federal Reserve. Americans have faced uncertainty before, and every time, we've found our footing again. The real secret to long-term financial peace is simple. Keep your eyes on the horizon and understand the fundamentals that drive real stability. That's exactly why Advantage Gold is inviting you to call 800-741-GOLD right now. We'll send you a free Gold IRA rollover kit, along with a complimentary copy of economist Ken Rogoff's insightful book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Inside, you'll learn how to defend your retirement savings against inflation, market swings, and reckless fiscal policies, with tangible assets like precious metals that have preserved wealth for centuries. It's no wonder Advantage Gold has been America's #1 gold company for the past decade. Take a smart step toward protecting what you've earned. Call 800-741-GOLD. That's 800-741-4653. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. It's your last chance to get exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X9 14 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, where PCs are up to 35% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo. Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Hello, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm the co-founder and developer of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. From all of us at Virago to all you at 560 AM, we want to wish you the happiest of holidays, a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, and a safe and joyful New Year. And thank you for making us a part of your day. As the holidays come, we know two things for sure. Family get-togethers and flu season is here. Health experts are watching the H3N2 variant this year. Don't wait to protect yourself and your family. Take Virago. Be proactive. Be protective. We at Virago again wish you a Merry, Merry Christmas.
Flu season is here. Boost your immune system with Virago and protect yourself. Order your bottle of Virago online today. Visit myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30% at checkout. That's myvirago.com. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
AM 560, The Answer.
So, a Russian extreme athlete, Sergei Boitsov, has set a world record. The world's first hot air balloon soccer match at an altitude of 1,800 meters. That's 5,900 feet for us not on the metric system. Yeah, the soccer field suspended under a hot air balloon, and you got goals set up and two guys with parachutes on their backs playing soccer. And you know what's fascinating about this? Even that could not make soccer interesting. Thank you for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. We'll be back tomorrow with more. It's now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Republicans are going to have a